Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
Never got it! He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly, Miller's still start trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's gonna do it! Big Barry! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and people of all ages, we are back with the VWSC Round 2 from Sebring. I'm James Barber. I'm going to be joined in the booth, hopefully by Mr. Tom Gens, and I've got Mr. Ross Smith alongside me for this 120 minutes of Sebring. Paul Glover, of course, on directional bugs in our ear rolls, but let's have a look at the schedule and bring you up the schedule for this season. You see, we are here for the 120 minutes of Sebring. We then head off to Imola, then Spa, and then Qatar later on the 15th of May. We do the 4.8 hours of Le Mans on 7th of June and 60 laps of the Glen on the 21st. Then we've got Sao Paulo, Coda, Indy, Fuji, Road Atlanta, and Bahrain. Let's have a look at the track now. Of course, it is Sebring, 3.74 miles, 6.02 kilometers, built in the 1950s. We are running the modern day. That's, of course, the 12 hours of Sebring that if you are in other simulators you are driving or racing in today. So good luck on that one. Flashpoints, well, it's going to be down into turn 7, turn 17, turn 16 and turn 10 are going to be the main places. Orange zone right the way through to the hairpin at turn 7. That's what they've got to look into next time on that one. Keys to the race. We're going to start off with respect the bumps. It is an old airfield. It's very, very bumpy indeed. Use traffic to the best of your advantages. Don't forget, obviously, don't take them out. Probably not a good look. Pick marks for the night, i.e. when we go into nighttime, make sure you have picked where you're going to brake. Strategy corner for the hypercars. Well, tyres will be medium and hard for the hypercars. Soft dampers for Sunset, turn 1, time GT passes to effect. That's where we're going to be. So for the strategy corner for the hypercars, that will just bring up, there we go. 20 to 25 minutes per fuel stop, 3 to 4 stops per race. Cars to beat, the V-Series, the 9X8, the 963, and then 499P. That's the ones to look out for. For the GT cars, let's have a look at their strategy. It will be keep tyres cool, really control the throttle on exit. Medium tyres, 30 to 35 minutes per stops. 2 stops should do them quite happily, give or take. I think there might be an extra one in there somewhere. Cars to beat, the AMG, the 720S, the Huracan, the 992, and that will be the cars to be after that. Let's have a look at the standings for the Hypercars Pros at the moment. You can see on there, Dan Herlock is leading the way on 44 points. Mike Bell on 32, then Johnny Gutierrez and Dan Kirby. Mika Locke and Timon Suvic with John Uyan and Robert Molin with Alexander Schultz and Vuta de Bruin rounding out the top 10. Everybody else in behind it, of course, we have only had one round. Not really worth worrying about at the moment. Smile Power Racing in the Cadillac leads the way for the Hypercars. Then Bad Day Racing Peugeot 9X8 in second place. And CMS Pro, SKS, Crown Dental Group, Peugeot 9X8 Evo, CMS Pro, Team Wookie Rookie Monsters, a British Turkish racing Ferrari. What a name. In the Hypercar AMS at this moment in time, it is John Mayer who's going to lead the way with Benjamin Portier-Hassif in second and Gwilym Benk in third. Mike Bice in fourth, then Matt Bice in fifth, then Wayne Hutchinson, Eric Monet, Oliver Day, then George Angelidis and Philip Ducardi round out the top 10. And then beyond that, obviously, you can see everybody else in there. Curie Mistral leads the way at the moment in the Hypercar standings. Trash Panda Racing in second, AMM Racing, 747 and HRC Acura behind that one. In the GT3 Pros, we'll kick it off first, and it will be JT Tammy leading the way with David Junt sitting in second, then Alan Holden, Bradley Sellers, William Schlickling, Brian Van Buskum, and Becky Ely Clark in seventh, then James Walker, Ryan Paulbert Reyes. And then we got Max Sunflap, Elko Busanik, Mika Dawn, Kieran Pullen, and Vasilis Kataranakis. Dark Thunder Racing leads the way in the teams with BHR XGSR. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the next one. In second place with Joey Motorsports in third. Initial 3 Porsche, then Team Rookie Monsters and Stardust Auto Sports. In the LMGT3 AMS at the moment, it is Stephen Miller leading the way on 44 points with Eugene Mazur, David Anderson, Norm Graff, Adam Gray, Alexander McQuarrie, Peter Meyer, and Craig Pullen. So we're just going on to the race at this moment in time. And we will bring Mr. Ross Booth into the booth. Ross, welcome in, bud. Ross?
Sorry, I was trying to find the button.
How are you, sir?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hey, yes. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here, James and Paul, and hopefully Tom soon as well. It's a beautiful day here in Sebring, and we got a big race in front of us.
Yeah, we definitely has. You've driven this track. We've all driven this track. Everybody knows this track, right? There can't be any dramas at all, can there?
Not a one. No, it's totally expected. The results are practically in the mail. So yeah, nothing's unexpected or untoward will happen at all during this race. Completely. No, obviously this is this is a bit of a rumble as far as the calendar goes. It's a major event, I guess, in the series. You could say it's 2 hours, 120 minutes for those using metric, and it's going to be. I think a catalyst for some of the rest of the season, because obviously it's a lot more points at stake, and you've got a lot more going on here that drivers have to deal with. This is going to be the second round instead of Qatar, which was moved after a bit of issues with the server. We're running a new server today, so it should be able to take the load, no problem. And we're obviously it's a polarizing track. A lot of people love it. A lot of diehard endurance and sports car drivers love this track. They think it's got a very unique feel and layout. It's got a vibe that's totally different from any other track in the series. And then you've got those who have a bit more dissent towards this track. They think that it's total garbage on the runway straights, and why haven't you paved over those terrible concrete blocks that stick up 20 feet in the air, and you have to run around it like it's Mad Max with dampers squealing and screaming because they're under duress. So it's got different drivers having to deal with different conditions, and there are certain cars that are going to be well suited for this track, and other ones where they're going to be on stilts and with their eyes on stocks, and it's going to make for interesting driving. And then you got the nighttime, like you said, so it's got a big old bag of everything in it. Yeah,
absolutely. I can almost hear you smiling, Ross, when you talk about Sebring on this track.
Well, for me, it's cursed. I have nothing but a cursed time here, but I'm not racing today, so I don't have to worry about that part of me. I can watch everyone else go through the different struggles and gyrations that come about this track. So for me, it's sitting back, eating popcorn, and watching the havoc unfold. So that's why I'm smiling, because I don't have to be there. Although I will say, we ran the 85 version of this track, and it was actually an enjoyable experience. It was just very interesting to partake in that layout of that historic layout, that very similar but different enough that you definitely feel like, wow, this is a totally different feel to this, the way that they ran this track with the Group C cars is what we ran. So for me, that was kind of cool. I actually got a podium out of that one, so it was, I think, the first time that I wasn't totally cursed. So anyway, yeah, it's I think it's an interesting track. I'm sort of on the fence, 50-50. I've been able to do well here, but usually something happens that screws things up. So it'll be interesting watching what everyone else has to deal with today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be an exciting one. We have got some penalties carrying over, so this is going to be an interesting one to discuss. Stop and hold for 20 seconds for Dan Herlock on that one. Drive through for Robert Molin, drive through for Eric Monet, drive through for David Junt. No qualifying for Cameron Barker, drive through for Micah Dawn, drive through for Dan Kirby. Stop and hold for 50 seconds to George Angelidis, you naughty boy, Mr. Angelidis, there as well. And a drive-through for Gwilym Benkross. That's going to put some people's opening races, well, going to go a little bit wrong at the opening.
Well, yeah, unfortunately. Now, this is a much longer race than where I believe they were going to serve it, because these were the ones that were going to be served at Qatar. But since they didn't run there because of the server issues, instead of having to eke through those penalties with only 100 minutes, they've got, an extra 20 minutes here. So yeah, we can expect that those drivers are going to be facing those penalties with sort of a different approach, because I feel like this pit road is a little bit shorter. This track, because of how this race is running, since you're going into the night, and because of the nature of the track, it's longer, it's a bit more sprawling, so the cars can kind of get away from each other more. The way that they're able to come back to each other and overcome some of these penalties is going to make a big difference. I mean, we saw it with the real life cars. I think the AMG that won in the GTD class, they were able to overcome a huge penalty and come back and win the race right at the end, nipped it from the Lexus team. And we saw the same thing with NARS. I think it was Ben Kesby ended up coming back, if I'm remembering right. It's been a little bit now, but he was able to. I believe he got a drive-through, and that was after a crash, maybe. But yeah, he was suffering from some of that, and he was able to come back and nip by the leaders. And there was a lot of great back and forth with Dan Kirby, Ben Kesby, Troy Uyoung was in there. So I'm kind of interested to see how this is going to obviously shake things up now in the standings. Like I said before, it's a big points race, and you've got a lot of those top end teams that are now suffering from it, because you've got Daniel Herlock, Dan Kirby. Those are powerhouse drivers for both of those teams, CMS Pro and Smile Power. So they've got a lot on the line. They've got a lot that they need to come back and fight for. So it'll be wild to see how they manage that and how they just deal with that throughout the end of the race.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Lots to go and play for here, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how they handle this. Sebring is renowned for the bumps, Ross. It feels like if you're in a motion simulator, you're going to break your back halfway and rot the teeth out if you've got it up full. But that's kind of one of the perks or one of the added features that we've got here. I think that's what makes Sebring, and isn't it? The bumps where your teeth are chattering.
Oh, 100%. And in real life, you'll talk to drivers, and they sort of bemoan that experience. Most of the drivers like this track because the layout is interesting, but they do kind of cringe because every single time they hit those bumps, the cars are sprung in such a way they're low. There's not a whole lot of cushioning for that, so their bodies are absorbing all of that. And when they get out of the cars, they're kind of relieved, like finally, like I can take a break, lay down, get a massage, whatever they have to do. And with sim drivers, it's fortunately, it's not as demanding on the body, but it is still a physical track. I mean, when you're running through here, you have to go flat out through the corners. You're working that wheel really hard, and if you've got a lot of force feedback through your wheel, if you've got a rig that's moving around or anything like that, you're going to feel it. And it's a long race, and these drivers don't have a relief driver to come in and take over for them. So for 2 hours, 2+ because you count qualifying and all the warm-up time here, they have to deal with that. And so it is physically draining. They're going to be experiencing that, the movement up and down. I don't know if anyone else feels this way too, but anytime I'm in the cockpit and the screen feels like it's shaking because the car is just gyrating over the bumps, it's disconcerting, especially if you've got like a large wraparound screen or anything and you've got a lot of things moving around. Like it really wears down your eyes and the rest of your senses because you're just constantly bombarded with that. So everyone's going to be dealing with that in their own way, and they have to figure out who's got the better setup to be able to handle that, so that way you can minimize those effects.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things they are going to have to look out for. Just make sure that they can obviously run how they want to run. Kim D is in YouTube chat. Kim, welcome in. Thank you so much. Sorry if there was some confusion with videos. There was a little bit of a technical error on my part this week where someone decided to publish it twice and at 2 different times. So if you were watching the wrong one, hopefully you're here now. Thank you so much for that one and joining us for today's race. It's going to be a very, very exciting one indeed, and I look forward to seeing how these guys get on for these 2 hours at Sebring here. Ross, do we sit back and think any favourites that you can see doing this?
I think I've got a lot of money towards Ben Kesby. I think he and Luke Mitchell are both going to be pretty strong. I want to see Mike Bell up there. I know that he's kind of confided in me saying like he's kind of struggling, but he always says that, and then he ends up beat up there in the fight. So obviously he just had the Daytona nipped from his teammate Daniel Herlock by 0.019 seconds. Which is devastating. So, hopefully he's able to come into some better luck here. I don't want to count out, Troy Uyan. He had a really great race. Johnny Gutierrez, he's got a very strong car, and he's been able to make that 9X8 do some amazing things. The one that I'm kind of curious to see is how Magnus Dahlgren is able to make that Toyota work. He's a little bit further down the grid right now, but pace-wise, he's been able to get up there. So. I don't want to count him out, but you've got your 2 Daniels. They're going to be strong. If they're able to overcome their penalties, they will be a factor in this race. There aren't any full course cautions like we saw with IMSA, so there's nothing really to kind of save them from that. They're just going to have to come back on pure talent, pure luck. So if they can get back in there and take advantage of others who are having to deal with traffic or get pushed off or anything, they will be there at the end. But yeah, I think if I had to pick one, if Ben Kesby doesn't disconnect, I think that he'll probably be the one to beat come to the end.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe I think you could be right on that one. I think it's going to be an exciting one. Now, if we were going to go down into the GTs, where would you look at GTs? JT Tammy looks strong.
Yeah, and he was having some interesting conversations because he was like, what's a damper? And earlier on in the race, which obviously at this track, you've got to just be a damper whisperer. Like you were saying in the beginning, the setup is so important here. You have to have a setup that's going to be very conducive. And you're going to need a supple car, but one that's going to be reactive through like sector 2 and 3. Because, if you're only set up for when you're on the concrete, then you're not going to be as fast as you need to be through the rest of it. So it looks like that he's got a pretty good car here. Peter right behind him, Peter Grau is in that AMG. He's also pretty fast. And don't want to count out Alan Holden because, he's always been able to make that Ferrari very quick. And if he's able to hold on to it through the rest of the race and kind of capitalize on some errors from those in front of him, I think that he's going to have a good shot at it. He's got Ryan Paulbert Reyes right in front of him. He's also very quick. But let's look down here at Alexander McQuarrie, who's qualified. He's a LMGT3 AM, but he's way up there. He's number 5 in the GTs, well ahead of a lot of the pros there. And, Stephen Miller and Peter Meyer just way down behind him. So I don't know that he's going to have a whole lot of competition there. Not to discount them, but he's just looking very quick in that Aston Martin.
Yeah, definitely. What are we going to do with Cameron Barker? No qualifying, sitting at the end of the GT3 queue. Is he going to get the opportunity on the pace lap to move himself onto the hypercar queue?
Yeah, he and Jerry Chen both will be able to come up to the back, so they'll be back there. Cameron Barker is also another fast one, and with those other guys up at the top, like the CMS Pro teammates and Smile Power teammates having to deal with their penalties, I think that he might be in a good position if he's able to take it easy, work his way through traffic, and find and take advantage of all the opportunities he possibly can. I think he can claw his way up there. I would not put it past him to be, on the podium by the end of this thing if he's able to play his cards right.
I think you might be right on that one. It'd be interesting to see what Jerry Chen gets up to. He's very quick as well, so I'll be interested on that one. Antonis is in YouTube chat, and of course our very own Mr. Reese, our pit lane Fred Kravitz, who seems to know things before we even do. So fair play for joining us again, Mr. Reese, on that one. We're doing something a little bit different here. We've got 2 hours, but we're sending them into the night with the time multiplier, Ross, as well. How are they? If this was a longer race and you had to swap drivers, there's nothing worse than being a driver that drives in the light to all of a sudden coming back later on and driving in the dark. Now, because obviously your points move and everything else. For these guys, though, they're going to be out on track. Is it really going to be as difficult to pick your braking points in the dark as it is going into the light or coming from the light? Because obviously, at the end of the day, you're going into the dark. You know where your braking points are.
Well, yeah, and you're right. I mean, you're going to have a long opportunity early on in the race to be able to sort of work out where your braking points are. You're going to feel the car out, but the race is going to evolve a little bit, and it's just enough that it can throw you off, and it can open up certain points in the track where you might be a little bit off. You know, it might just be, okay, you lose a few tenths in a corner here and there, and maybe that adds up over laps, or it could be just enough that you completely blow through, like, say, you know, the hairpin, or, you know, you overdrive it at Tower and you go off a little bit on the outside of the road there. It's always a challenge to make sure that you're staying on top of what your car is doing and what it's capable of, because you're going to be working your tires quite a bit. I'm thinking of the GTs especially, because you know, tires are everything for them. They only have the one compound. It's only the medium, so they have to look after their tires. They have to be conscious of what's going on with the car over time, you know, not abuse them, don't overheat them. That's going to be very difficult to do while they're fighting door to door with folks throughout the race. So they have to stay on top of that, because once you get into the nighttime, if you're off just a little bit, you know, it could lose you a little bit or it could lose you a lot. So I want to say that the nighttime, you know, maybe not as detrimental as, say, like a 24-hour race like Daytona or Le Mans, but it's going to affect them. And I think it's good.
All right, let's have a look at the grid for today's race. They have just lined up on the grid a little bit earlier than we was anticipating, but it's going to be Dan Herlock out in front with Luke Mitchell in second, Dan Kirby in third, and Ben Kesby in fourth. Don't forget, penalties incoming for some of them guys, so they will have to end up going backwards more than coming forwards. Mike Bell, John Uyan, Robert Molin penalty, Troy Uyan sitting in 8th place at the moment at the same time. So we'll keep an eye and see how these guys taking these penalties get on here once more. And then we've got Johnny Gutierrez, De Bruin, Magnus Dahlgren, and Antonius Paparinopoulos in 12th. Got that right. Check me out. Woo! Then we've got Timon Suvic, Michael Locke, Jerry Chen, and Gilles Lalonde to round out the 16 in that 9X8 Evo with a horrible wing on. Never mind, can't have it always. Moving on from there, we've got Tom Lane, Eric Monet, George Angelidis, Naughty Boy, got a penalty incoming, and Vinicius Concalves round out the top 20. From then we got John Mayer, Matthew Bass, Wayne Hutchinson, and Carl Struhel. He is in the Cadillac V-Series, so we'll keep an eye out and see how they get on for today. Quillen Bank in 25th, then Sean Kelly, Mike Bice, and JT Tammy in 28th, the leader of the GTs. Moving on swiftly from them, we've got Peter Greer, Ryan Paulbert Reyes, Alan Holden, and then Alexander McQuarrie leading the AMs in the GT, sitting in 32nd place. You'll see why that's relevant now. Ahead of David Junt, James Walker, Max Sunfrenlap, and Matthew Overton, all GT3 pros. So Alexander McQuarrie has got his work cut out a little bit, I think. Going into forward, Luciano Echazo, William Schlickling, Jaime Zalecki, and then we go into the second in the GT3 AMs, Stephen Miller in 40th place. Beyond that, Peter Meyer, Brian Van Buscombe, Adam Gray, and Stacey Scott in that McLaren 720 Evo in 44th. Moving on, there's a couple of cars that are out of position at the back. Cameron Barker and Elko Busanic. Well, Cameron will get the opportunity. Cameron will get the opportunity to join up with the cars on the pace lap, as Ross has just specified for us. before we get this race underway. He should be coming up very, very shortly. You might see him weaving up at the back at some points in to get onto the back end of the hypercars. 2 hours of racing, Ross. Are we going to have drama and dramatics? Are we going to have incidents and accidents? What's the situation going to be, you reckon?
Well, 100% guarantee. I mean, you can't. There's never been a Sebring round that hasn't had something going off. And I think that with what these guys know is on the line, they're going to be pushing for every opportunity they can. And those guys who have the penalties, who are basically starting up on the front few rows here, they're going to want to try and get as much separation from themselves and the rest of the cars as possible, so that way they can minimize the impact of those penalties. You know, they'll dive in. They want to try and stay out as long as they can and make sure that they have enough space between them and the GTs, so that way they don't get caught up in that, because that'll just slow them down a lot more. So yeah, I would say that kind of rampant energy is going to be taking off very early on, as soon as they take off from the line. So, and that's just going to carry on. I think what we'll probably see the most, though, is a lot of drivers just kind of having individual errors as they try to come to grips with the track, the ever-changing conditions of the race surface, what their cars are doing, its balance shifts. So I think it's going to be that, and then the drivers who are able to stay out of other people's messes, it's going to make the biggest change here.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So let's have a look and we'll see. We've got some hypercar AMs on hard tyres at this moment in time as well. We're just having a look through the list. I'm reading all mediums, GT3s there, but maybe that might be just the wrong thing. Maybe George Angelidis. No, George is on hard. Finished just Concalves, mix of medium and hards, but we're going to get the race up and running here through the final corner. They go through turn 17, and it's going to be Dan Herlock leading the way with Luke Mitchell sitting in second place. Don't forget, Herlock, though, unfortunately does have a stop and hold for 20 seconds incoming, so that's going to really counteract what he's going to be able to do here. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on to your hats. There's a little bit of overlapping going on with the driver names at the bottom. We'll get that one sorted out, but the green flag has dropped. We are now green, green, green. Dan Herlock is in first place, goes into turn number 1. GT3 starting in the bottom right-hand corner. You can see them down there at the same time, but Dan Herlock leads the way, going into turn number 2 in through 3 at the moment, and Dan Herlock gets out in front. In the GT3s is Peter Greyer. He's jumped JT Tammy. They're side by side in the bottom right-hand corner. You can see one of you's going off there. You haven't got quite the rotation. He opens himself up at the moment. JT Tammy, Peter Greyer has lost that place to Ryan Paulbert Reyes, but at the moment the hypercar's leading the way with Dan Herlock, no Ross, but a little bit counterproductive due to the fact that he's got a stop and hold incoming.
Yeah, like I was saying, he's got to get up there as fast as he can and move forward, try and get as much space as he can possibly get before he gets caught up and have to serve that penalty. 3 laps here is going to be, about 6 minutes or so. So I think that's going to be enough time. He'll be able to separate himself from the rest of the pack and stay in front of those GTs. But yeah, it's going to be it's going to be wild here. Fortunately, it's a nice clean start, so everyone's gotten away in both fields, and it's on.
Yeah, it is. Herlock there sitting still out in front at the moment for the Smile Power Racing. He is coming in through Genderbeam and in through Le Mans, the right-hander, before we go down the Almond, which is turn 16. The run down to 17. Luke Mitchell's not giving him any option, really, here to try and get away. Kesby sitting in third again on here once more. Kirby's in the picture, but he's got a penalty coming in as well for Dan Kirby. Unfortunately, he's going to have a drive-through to go and try and deal with. What would you do here if you're Dan Herlock, Ross? Would you look at taking your penalty on the first lap, or would you try extending it? But the problem is Mitchell's not letting him get away.
No, they're doing exactly what they need to right now. Mitchell's going to stay in position behind him. I don't think he's going to push unless he really feels like he can make some separation there. So he's going to, as long as Daniel Herlock is able to maintain a good pace in front of him, he's not going to press it. But he's going to want to stay out as long as he possibly can, maximize that spread away from the rest of the field, so that way he can just join right back up to the back of the hypercars and then climb his way back up to the top, or as far as he can make it anyway. So as long as he can do that, Luke Mitchell will stay right behind him in position and probably inherit the lead here shortly.
Do you know what I am surprised about is early on, we haven't seen Mitchell drop away from Herlock, both from the Smile Power Racing. If I was Luke, I'd be not off the throttle, but making it blinking hard and very difficult for these guys to get through. We've got a replay coming up on the screen at the moment. This is Michael Locke here having an issue. It goes round, unfortunately. That's just over putting the throttle down way too early and leaving bodywork on the side of Sebring. But I am surprised Luke has not dropped himself into the path of Kesby and not hitting the brakes almost, Ross, but giving Herlock a little bit more of a gap than half a second, because we know Herlock's got to go in, but he could have had that gap out of 3, 4, 5 seconds by now if he just backed off. Surely wouldn't he be looking to do that if your teammates?
No, I think they're playing it just right now. Luke, I mean, he's very quick, but I think Dan has just a little bit more pace than he does. They're both very close right now, especially early on when the cars are nice and fresh. So, he's doing a great job playing rear gunner, making sure that Ben Kesby and none of the CMS Pro guys are able to kind of slip up in there. So we're watching, I believe that's Gutierrez, who's just taking a little bit out of there. Is that Moling? Yeah, Ron Moling. So trying to make those Alpines work. So. Yeah, they're doing a great job. I am curious, like I said before, to see how that 9X8 is able to come alive, especially later in the run, as a lot of the other cars have to deal with rear tire wear. He's going to be able to utilize a little bit of that all-wheel drive and move it along, especially in sectors 2 and 3, where he can kind of kick it around, maybe not quite rally style, but get a little bit more drive off the corners, especially with worn tires.
Yeah, we're going to jump on and have a look at a replay right now. This is Luciano Ricciardo. Oh, contact there with the Mercedes on the outside, and that is a hard hit. That is a damaging hit for Ricciardo. Be interested to see what his damage is coming out of that as we go back now into live pictures. We're sitting in with Robert Molin, who's got Wouter de Bruin in behind him, Magnus Dahlgren, Timon Suvic, Gilles Lalonde, Antonios Paparanopoulos in behind that, who's leading the Hypercar AMS with Jerry Chen not far back. I do agree what you say though, Ross, with the fact that Mitchell is quick, but the thing I'm a little bit more worried about is I know he's quick, but sometimes I think you could have probably just dropped back a little bit. Yeah, drop back and give Kesby a little bit of give Herlock a little bit of a more gap though, wouldn't he? I know he's going to inherit the lead. We know this because there's a penalty coming. I just might have thought he might have dropped back just a little bit more there, making sure that Kesby does not get a little bit closer. But Wouter de Bruin at the moment putting Robert Molin all under pressure. Then we've got Magnus Dahlgren, Timon Suvic, Gilles Lalonde in the X8. It's going to be very interesting to see how the X8, as Ross says, comes alive. What's your predictions in YouTube chat? Who's going to come out with a win? Paparanopoulos is opening up the gap at the moment out in front. Kesby has inherited the lead. Mitchell's gone in with Herlock. Am I missing a penalty?
There might be. Yeah, he might have had one. I'm trying to get back over to there to see if that he had one. But that would kind of answer your previous question as to why he wasn't holding back, because he was going to have to go in too. So I think both of them just maximizing their pace as much as they could is exactly the right move. So now they're going to have Mike Bell is going to be the kind of the team car carrying the banner until they're able to climb back up.
I don't see a penalty listed for Luke Mitchell at all, to be blatantly honest, and I'm a little bit shocked by that one. There is Bell on your screen. This is going to be one of the issues we think is going to be for him as he's going down into the right-hander. That's at Cunningham. Yeah. Unfortunately, round he goes on there. The only thing I'd say that Luke Mitchell can't have had a penalty, Ross, is I don't see him actually on the standings for round number 1. So was he actually there, or what has he actually been up to? Or is he going to use himself as a little bit of a gunner to try and get Herlock back up? Well, ladies and gentlemen, if that is the case, we've got team orders going on for the Smile Power Racing, because the other thing I can see has happened at the same time here is Mitchell's got in front of Kirby. So he's come out in front of Kirby. Are they seeing Kirby as the biggest threat to their win today? Are they going out blocking him, Ross, making sure that he's not moving up as fast as possible with Luke Mitchell? Is that the situation with that one? So is that one of the questions we've got to pay attention to?
That would be one of the most bizarre team orders I could possibly think of, because I mean, when looking at it, you'd have Luke Mitchell, who would, I mean, obviously very fast driver, good pace, and he's starting up at the top where he'd be able to inherit the lead. But you'd want to have your teammate up there scoring as many points as you possibly could. And it just doesn't really make sense to have him come in if he's just going to be holding back Daniel Kirby, unless they feel so confident about their points position that they would want to just try and keep him back there. I mean, I would want to have my driver out in front of these two Uyans and trying to keep them from scoring maximum points. So to me, that doesn't make sense to bring him in just to hold back one of the other CMS Pro guys. You'd want to have your driver out there. I think there's something else going on.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that one. That's my philosophy. I'm ever up for a good conspiracy. If anybody knows me, you know that already. So, you know, love through a good conspiracy there as well. That is Angelidis making his way back through the GT3s. Don't forget, obviously, George Andy's got a penalty at the same time. It's Gwilym Benk apparently there as well, but George Angelidis is also trying to make his way through the GT3s. He's behind them on track at this moment in time. At the same time, after his penalty, there's George there. He's just coming up to the back end of the GT3, which is Adam Gray. Paparanopoulos leading the Hypercar AMS. If it is one of the bizarrest cup things we've ever seen, well, I'm going to look at it and say maybe that's what they were playing at. That's the only thing I can think of why bringing Luke in, partly due to the fact I don't see him in the standings for the first round, so therefore he can't have possibly been up there. So why bring him in behind there unless Luke's got some major issue? But at the moment it doesn't look like it. He's moving up fat through the field. He's sitting 16th overall. He's got Bison behind, Kirby in behind that, and Hutchinson. So he is ahead. In fact, they're now together on track, Luke Mitchell and Dan Kirby. I think this was going to really play a part on how this is going to play out. But this at the same time, we've got Matt Overton sitting down in the GT3s with Elko Busanic in behind him. They're literally 2.3 in behind there. We've lost Ryan Paulbert Reyes at the moment. He's showing us a DNF on our screen, so we'll find out why if we can on that one, due to the fact that he was sitting in second in the GT3s. It does apparently look like a disconnect there, Ross. Server, R-Factor doing R-Factor things again.
I think that's probably on the user end, because I'm not seeing any issues with anyone else. Everything was very clean through the transition switches on the sessions. And yeah, I'm looking at the ping times right now. Everyone looks very strong, very settled. So I think that might have just been, you know, a blip down on his end.
I can tell you what, that was a blip there from the Hypercar. Yeah, Peter Gray at the end there, unfortunately got a little bit of a bump from, I believe that may have been Gwilym Benk, but that is not an ideal situation, I think, for these guys to have to deal with at the same time. A little bit of a hustle there, but it's Jaime Zalecki and Matt Overton here. We have been joined in the booth through by Tom Cairns. We'll bring him in very, very shortly here, but we've got penalties people have gone through and dealt with. We got Kesby leading the way in the Hypercar Pros with Uyan in behind him there. Which one? It's Troy Gutierrez in third with Dad, unfortunately John in fourth, which is not a bad thing. Paparanopoulos in leading the Hypercar AMS with Jerry Chen half a second back. JT Tammy dominating lead over Alan Holden, 6.1 second. Alexander McQuarrie dominating again, 15.8 seconds over the nearest Hypercar AMS. We did say though, Ross, as well, McQuarrie's qualifying, putting himself up into them positions has really benefited him well.
Yeah, like I said, he's a very strong driver. I'm not sure if some of his finishing consistency is the reason why he's still being scored down in AM, but he obviously has pro pace and he's doing it today. Really just showing off how strong he can be. And kind of looking at some of the other AMs, obviously we've got Jerry Chen, who's fighting with Antonis, who's, you know, both of them were going pretty strongly at each other. I'm very curious to see how both of those drivers go. Paparanopoulos, I got to run with him in the 85 series, and he's a very strong driver. It's a ton of fun, very respectful. So I think both of those two coming at each other, especially with the classic Porsche versus Ferrari battle, will be a really cool fight to watch throughout the end. And then I also like to see the newcomer you guys were just talking about in the AMG, Peter Gray, who's he started off up towards the front, and unfortunately did just have a little bit of that interaction. It's early on. I think he'll be able to make some of that up. So we'll see how he's able to pull himself into the podium position.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be very, very interesting there as well. We'll give Tom a minute to get all ready, set up and ready to go. Before we bring him in at the moment as well, there was a little bit of confusion, well, generally on my part regarding the wonderful daylight savings that the American has come into it. But I do also have a blame of Ross Smith because the YouTube thumbnail had also got the wrong time on at the same time. Mr. Smith.
I don't have anything to say about that.
Exactly. Thank you very much. You're guilty. Moving on there as well. Now we go Alan Holden, Alexander McQuarrie with JT Timmy in behind there as well. Maybe he has at the same time, but maybe he's just disconnected here once more. But there we go. We'll keep this one open. See how we get on. And Mike Bell and Luke Mitchell still fighting away here. So let's see how they go. Tom, you all ready to go?
Yes, I am, James. Hello to you all. Yes, sorry for my late arrival. I was having a kip after my commentary duties on Formula 1 qualifying earlier this morning. Won't go into too much detail on that, but yes, I did get confused with the timing of the session at our end, so that's, yeah, my apologies by any means. But we've got some brilliant action going on involving hypercars as well as was the LMGT3 and LMGT3 EM. A lot of battling going on circuit as we speak.
Yeah, and Johnny Gutierrez in a 9X8. Johnny's looking up the inside at the moment here. Is he going to be able to make it work? We're going to find out very, very shortly. We have got Mr. Smith back in the booth with us as well. Luke Mitchell served the drive-through for moving on the start. Apparently, he got it out the same way as Dan Herlock on the same lap. Through Gentlemen they go, coming into Le Mans, the 9X8 Gutierrez has gone through over on Teeth Troy Uyan, and we've got a DNF further down for Tom Lane, so we're going to find out if we can what absolutely happened to him. Ross, you okay?
Oh no, I'm fine. I just took off so I could try and pop into the Smile Power chat and understand what was going on there with Luke Mitchell. Yeah, he unfortunately did move at the start, which I don't know why he didn't just pull in immediately and serve that, because usually that's how those go. So
Well, yeah, we're quite...
Oh,
Ooh, hold on. Who is that? That's the Lexus, isn't it? Lexus of Peter Meyer? There, unfortunately went off the side of the circuit, unfortunately for him as well, but a nice clean start going at the moment. Troy Ian has lost a little bit of time to Gutierrez, traffic playing a part. Gutierrez motoring his way through in that 9X8 Evo, so he's going to start trying to make his way forward now for Gutierrez and see if he can get up into Kesby. It's important. The thing I'm noticing here as well, Ross, I'm going to just bring you in on this one really quickly. The GT3's same kind of exit speed as the hypercars.
not exit speed as much. I mean, some of them they are able to carry a little bit more speed through the corners, just depending on which one you're looking at. They definitely have a lot better braking going into some of these corners. And if you've got a pretty confident and proficient driver in the GT, and same with the hypercar, they're going to be pretty matched with the GT, just getting a little bit of the edge. They have that ABS, so they can just stomp the pedal and not ever worry about it. Whereas the hypercar drivers, they have a lot more weight to contend with, they have a lot more speed to contend with, and they don't have that driver aid to help them. They have to modulate a little bit, so got a little bit extra that they have to deal with.
Is that
naughty?
Is that George making his way through on the back markers? It is there. How's he going to manage that one? Well, he didn't, and in fact he's got a 9X8, I believe. Is that Gutierrez putting him a lap down early on here? I'm quite surprised that George hasn't motored up a little bit further than where he is. If he has just gone a lap down, I'm very surprised by that one, especially this early on, Tom. And although we know that George had a penalty, but a lap down already is never good with 1 hour and 43 minutes to go.
Yeah, absolutely definitely not a good sign at this stage of the race, given there's a long way to go still at the moment. There's yellow in sector 1. I don't know what that involves, but we'll find out in a moment what that is. We may be able to get a replay, unless it was just someone having a moment. But interesting going on at the front. There is a 5-second gap between the likes of Ben Kesby and Johnny Gutierrez at this point in the race, and they're just managing things. It'd be interesting to know how pit strategy plays its role, because I imagine that the hypercars, considering that they are faster, will be doing more stops than the other classes.
Whoa, pirouettes. Ouch. That's is it Tom Lane there, I believe that was on that one. We may be able to see as well. We've got an interesting scenario with Mike Bell, and we'll see if we can find that one going on here at Cunningham, whether or not there was an issue with a rejoin, but we'll keep an eye out on this as Troy Uyan and Magnus Dahlgren still trying to get through on each other. Troy sitting in that blue caddy, Magnus in the Toyota GR01 Evo version. Let's see how he gets on down the Ormond Straight. Is this where he's going to make this move? Is this how he's going to get it done? Magnus Dahlgren tucks in behind him as well. Is he going to now use the GT3, pull out on him and block him in? He's not. He gave Troy the option. Is the draft really as weak as what we've just seen, Ross? Or did the fact that Magnus Dahlgren just not push?
No, you get a little bit of it here. I think the Cadillac is a much stronger car on the straights, and you're going to see that as he's able to. Magnus is probably going to be able to pull him back a little bit as they go into the next few sectors here. Through this combination, 3, 4, 5, he might be able to do a little bit more with it. Now he is behind John Uyan, so he might be able to do a little bit more damage there. I think Troy might be a little bit more hooked up. But it's certainly not going to be any slouch. As you can see, he's closing the gap up. But, getting up to him and then getting by him is going to be one thing. So we'll see if he's able to do anything with that before they get to the long Holman Straight.
Yeah, Jaime Zalecki, Matt Overton tucking in through turns 2 and 3. There's a hypercar in behind them. We've lost Stephen Miller. He's another DNF. Unfortunately, he was running. That's a bit of a shame. He was running in second place. I think this might be the explanation as to why. No, it's not. This is Max Somfenlap with just the hypercar in behind him. There was somebody else sitting on the side of the circuit doing 3-point turns. There you go. Max gone round in that Porsche. Unfortunately, so easily done. They want to make sure, though, that they don't hit that curb coming out of turn 5, Tom. That's going to be one of the moments where it's not going to be the only flashpoint on this circuit, but it will be the one that was probably going to cause the most of them.
That's probably going to be catching out a number of drivers during the course of the race if they hit that curb too much. We're going to see a replay here. I wonder if this is a separate incident. This is down at Fangio, I believe. And who's that? Let's just spun around there.
George Angelidis has gone round at the hairpin there for him. And unfortunately for George, he's going to have to try and look and get his way back onto the race circuit through the hairpin on that one. A little bit of a questionable rejoin at the same time. We'll see what comes of that. He's obviously already had a penalty from round number 1. The young man doesn't want to give himself, I'll call him young, he'll probably say thank you. He don't want to give himself another one after his one he had a 50-second stop and hold for him. So George having a bit of a rough one there, Ross. I think that the thing is for him is he's got to keep calm, hasn't he? Because we all know that, if you start seeing the red mist and driving under the red mist, it's going to go more wrong than normal.
Yeah, 100%. I know that he was very frustrated by what happened at Daytona, but unfortunately this is continuing his bad luck. And he didn't have a lot of stock in this race specifically because he knew he was having to deal with those penalties. But obviously you don't want to make things worse than they are, rubbing salt in the wound. So we'll see how that goes with that rejoin. I'm looking back, actually, speaking of rejoins, I caught up with the issue that Tom Lane ran into, and I think that there's more to the story like he's talking about, because Mike Bell was in the middle of the track. I couldn't see which corner that was on, but he did cop a good smack into him, and I think that upset his car, which led to that turn 1 thing. A big spin there.
Where is that?
McLaren.
Stacy DNF'd, and that'd be the reason why. Not an ideal scenario. That Lexus was, well and truly brave enough to get it out the way there, because he could have ended up torpedoing in the side at the time here. Starting to settle down a little bit now. We are due to the hypercars going to be coming into the pit stops phase very, very shortly. Again, as we said, with the hypercar corner, or the strategy corner, is 20 to 25 minutes. We are touching on that moment. 3 to 4 stops we'll see for the hypercars. Matt Overton and Jaime Zalecki has just been separated by one of the hypercars there. Didn't quite get a flash of who that is, but you can see at the moment they're fighting it out here and having a nice little battle. Lalonde's in pit lane, or has gone through there and come out, but that is Gilles Lalonde in 8th with Luke Mitchell in 7th. And behind that, funny enough, Ross, I know you didn't want to talk about the fact that they put their driver in that position, but Dan Kirby's still stuck behind Jerry Chen.
Yeah, that'll be a tough spot for him to get through. I think Jerry's going to probably do the right thing, and wherever Daniel's going to be pushing, he's not going to make a fight out of it, because he really needs to keep some of those other Hypercar AM drivers behind him. He doesn't want that to be a complication for him. So I think he's going to let him by. For watching Mitchell and Barker kind of going at it with George Angelides right in front of them. I'm sure they're going to be wishing that he was out of their way as they're going through this second and third sector. But yeah, there's a lot going on right now. I'm seeing a few more drivers go off. Brian Van Bosekum, he ended up having a spin coming onto Ullman. He just got into the grass and actually went up on his side going into the outside wall. So that took him out. We saw Stacy Scottson kind of catching up here. Stephen Miller ended up, it looked like he lost power. So I don't know if he had a technical issue or was dealing with something else and just pulled over to the side and got out.
Well, here we go. This is the incident. Let's see if we can see what goes on. It's going to hit the curb, hit the grass, and unfortunately go round and then up. Ooh, that was a... Oh, what are you doing? You going up? You going down? Nope, you're just hovering in midair. Great action from there as well. Now, the interesting thing for me, Tom, here is Mr. Angelides, lap car, everybody else started to pull in the pit lane. Well, there you go, that answers my question. Unfortunately for him, he managed to hold it where he was, right and round until the pit stops on that one. Jerry Chen, pit lane as well. Matt Bice is also in pit lane, I believe. He's got his timer running on that, so we'll keep an eye and see if that settles back down once we'll give the old timing software a kick and a bit of a refresh to see if that one will clear. JT Tammy 8 seconds ahead of Alan Holden in the GT3s. Alexander McQuarrie 40 seconds ahead of Peter Meyer. Daggone, says Stacey in YouTube chat. She was P2 in class. Yes, she was, unfortunately, young lady. Let us know what happened there. Was it a technical issue? Was it just the fact that you spun and got it wrong? Let us know on that one. We've got two Smile Power Racings together. That's going to be an interesting one. Kesby out in front, Kirby in 36 seconds here. Tom, pit cycles now, people really sort of going to be mixing up in and around strategies and in and around cars they weren't, and it could just be fireworks once the pit stop cycle gets out of the way.
Yes, and I'd be interested to know how much fuel each driver is putting into the car. Is it going to be a full tank, or are they looking to go on a shorter stint compared to what the others are doing? This is Ben Kesby coming into the pits from the race lead. Johnny Gutierrez was around about 6 seconds behind him before the pit cycle had begun. So where will Kesby come out in relation to Gutierrez here?
Well, we're going to find out, but I think it's going to be the fact that we've got Kirby sitting in second place at the moment. Robert Molin is in third in the hypercars overall, so we're going to find out whether or not this is going to be, it should be Kirby taking the lead, and then Molin might get close, but we're going to keep an eye and see if he does. We've got Antonis Paparanopoulos, leading the way in the hypercar AMS. He's 16 seconds back away from Kesby. Tom mentioned split strategies there, Ross. Do we think they're gonna do that, or do we think in an ideal way surely they would just refuel as high as they go, wouldn't they?
They generally will. It's going to be tough to say, though, because the way that the hypercars are set up, they're going to be coming in at around every 22 to 25 minutes. Like we've seen them here go about 25 minutes in, which this is a little bit extended because they obviously were able to save a lot more on that initial formation lap. So that's kind of setting timing off a little bit. Fuel is a huge concern here because you want to be able to make it to the end. We've seen a number of drivers, particularly in the NARS race, earlier this week, last week, where it came down to fuel. You had a splash and dash for a few drivers in both the GT and hypercar. So they're going to be very conscious of what's going on with that. If you know you can make, you might be able to eke out just a little bit in front of some of the other drivers. To me, it looked like they were all filling up right now. So they might pick one of the other stops to be able to kind of get a little bit out of cycle maybe, and then try and get some positioning ahead of some of the other drivers. So it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility. They just have a lot more stops to go. So we'll see how that does, as we have just for a minute there, Dan Kirby was at the top of the field. Obviously pit cycles have gone through and he's fallen back, but he's up to 10th and he's with all the other hypercars at this point. So yeah, he's on a run, 35 seconds behind everyone else. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, absolutely right. We're going to have a look at this Mike Bell rejoin. This was the one that was causing us an issue. And now it would be the one that we will be looking at. Yeah. Oh, please don't do this. I swear he's just going to come back straight in the middle of the circuit. Oh, bro. Dude.
So that actually caused the damage to Tom Lane early on, which I think affected the way that he took that turn 1 entry and caused him to over-rotate, which we saw ended up in the tire stack and out of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, unfortunately, that could be a tasty little penalty on the way there for him. Vinicius Goncalves leading the way over Jerry there, who's sitting in second place. Shh, stop it here as well. The Hypercar Hams having a nice little tiny battle, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, we're looking at Cherry Chen going through the GT there, or GT3 I should say. I wonder how long it'll be before he decides to make his way into the pit lane, unless he's already been in Cherry Chen, because I don't know where he was before the pit cycle had begun, but he is continuing on his way. Nevertheless, down the pit straight, just run about 1.5 seconds behind Goncalves ahead there. You could just see in the background for a moment. But now we're looking at the LMGT3 battle. This is Peter Grau and William Schlitting for position there, going through the first sector. This battle is beginning to brew now, actually, isn't it? Hopefully they'll keep it clean throughout, but it just needs to be wary of hypercars that are coming through. That was very, very nip and tuck there. That must have been. Is that the top two in the hypercar ambulance that are just going through?
Yeah, it was there as well. But Peter Grau, William Schlitling's going to have to be a little bit careful. That's a 9x8 there. I'm wondering if that was Gutierrez, possibly sitting, who's just gone hurtling through. There's a Smile Power Racing there at the same time. We're going to have a look at the Carl Struhal replay. Here we go, see what he got himself into. Poor racecraft there, Mike. Yeah, well, it was tough. It looked like he just locked the brakes and unfortunately straight into the tyre barrier. Ross, easily done, is it, do you think?
It sure is, and I know that Carl has kind of been having some struggles with the hypercar, because this is the first year he's been switching up to the top class. And he's done okay. He's been able to get decent pace, but it's looking more and more like some of these longer events. He's just finding a few of these errors more and more often. So it's going to take him, I think, a little bit of time to get into it. Certainly a learning curve for him, but you know, he's doing okay. Hopefully he can just keep it on the island and let attrition come his way as he's starting to learn the lopes. Not having the teeth issue like you are. Tom, I swear, we all can talk here. It's okay.
Everybody's dentist sticks has fallen out to the dentist sticks. Oh my god, that's a dog chew bone. What's it called? The fix dent on the old teeth not working here as well. The interesting thing for me, I think one of us we haven't picked up on, Papa Renopoulos coming in the lead in the hypercar AMS. He's gone out, Tom, behind Goncalves and Chen.
Yep, so he's now playing catch-up to those two, compared to before the pit cycle had begun. We're just seeing on the multi-screen here, looking at the bottom, that is a GT3 battle that I'm seeing compared to the hypercar battle we are seeing. This is Mitchell and Kirby are looking on the biggest screen at the top, and down at the bottom, you'll be able to fill me on who...
It's Peter Grau and William Schlitling.
Okay, so
as well.
That is...
That's a battle resuming down in GT3s at this moment in time as they're continuing the fight. All points up for grabs here, Ross. I think it's full ball go at the moment, isn't it, after the pit cycle?
Oh yeah, a lot of these drivers are trying to get themselves staged early on as they've gone through that cycle, so that way they can have the maximum amount of distance between them and all of their competitors. You can see the field is really spread out, and you're going to need as much cushion as you can, especially as you come right back into a lot of the GT traffic, which is going to be coming through if they haven't started already, because they're going to be coming in at like about the 30-minute mark, I want to say. I have to double check. I thought it was a 2x race, but yeah, they're going to be coming in and you can see some of them already in the pits. So that's going to shake things up quite a lot. And we're going to be getting into that segment where I was saying before, you're going to have a lot of drivers that are going to just have individual errors that you want to stay out of. Those are going to be the biggest things. You're not going to have as much side to side, front to back, where you have a lot of collisions. It's just going to be drivers coping with the changing conditions in their car and on the track.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have a look at the Mac Sumford lap. A little bit of an incident that he's caught himself up in here for Mac. Let's see now. We're going to keep an eye, but there is Mac in turn number 1. Whoa.
That's the second time.
Is that a Porsche doing Porsche things, Ross, or is that just Mac driving it in too hot?
It could be a little bit of both. He might have it set up so that way he can run a little bit faster on the straights, and it's suffering. But obviously turn 1 is very bumpy, and if you don't have those undulations worked out with your dampers, it can definitely lead to that when you start leaning on hot tires.
Yeah, we're going to have a look now and think we've got Jerry Chen, who's unfortunately gone round himself here. Not ideal for Jerry. Straight into turn 1, there is a hypercar on the outside of him. Was that a squeeze? That's going to be the question there, Tom. Without a different angle, of course, we can't really see much, but was that a squeeze on Jerry Chen there?
It looks like it was a turn-in on Jerry Chen by the looks of it, so we'll see what the stewards say on that. They will have access to the camera angles anyways, but we'll let them carry on as they are. Luke Mitchell running in 9th position, as you can see in your pictures, just coming up behind one of the GT3s, heading through the last corner before the pit straight. I wonder how this battle is going to brew here, because this is not towards the top end of Hypercar as we speak, but this is one of the closest battles we've got on circuit right now that we can bring you. But the gap between Kesby and Gutierrez is down to 1.5 seconds. Gutierrez getting the gap down all the time. If you remember, I said it was like 6 seconds before the pit cycle had begun. This is a replay that we are seeing. This is from Jerry Chen into turn number 1 there. I would probably say he wasn't left enough room. I thought Jerry Chen was entitled to more room at the apex.
There was a growl from the bear that is in the booth, Mr. Smith. Tell us. Come on, Ross, you've got an opinion.
It looks a bit 50-50. Jerry was obviously, he's going for the gap. He had the speed. It looked like Carl was just going to take his line. I'd have to look at it a few times to see that turning point, but it looked kind of split to me. It's really hard to say.
Ross Smith getting splinters on his bum there. Not really issuing out who's to blame. Personally, I think I'm in the same boat, Ross. I don't really generally sit on the fence, but I think that was a bit of a tough one. You can see the GT3s are starting to come in. Grau, Tammy and Schlittling is in. Something lap's been in the pits as well. Gray's there at the same time. Ichazo and Shun having a nice little battle at the beginning there. Is Vinicius Concalves DNF there, as I'm being told in my hero. So it does look like it may have had a disconnect, but we'll see if we can find anything out. Can we go back up to the Hypercar Pros, please, as Kesby has got Gutierrez sitting literally smelling the draft fumes off his back end here. Ross, we did say the X8 was going to come into his own. It looks like Gutierrez has got it there.
Yeah, he can be a bit of a dark horse here. Both of these all-wheel drive cars, so they both are kind of a nice little drift there through the hairpin. Yeah, they're definitely chasing each other now. So they have a little bit of an advantage where they're able to drive off some of these tighter corners, able to use that nice split diff, so that way they can just get a little bit more drive. But I think that 9X8 has slightly more advantage in that respect, but we all know that Ben Kesby has really good pace. He's able to work his tires and do, I think he's got a tire split. I have to double check that again, but it looks like he might just be on mediums right now. But they're both quick drivers. Johnny Gutierrez knows how to run a race. We saw him very close at the end of Daytona, So he's in a really great position. I'd love to see how these two are able to carry on, because without the Smile Power and CMS Pro guys harassing them, these two are going to be on all the way through the end of the race.
Yeah, we've got the battle for first and second in the main, and then in the bottom right is Troy Uyan Dahlgren in behind there as well. So we're going to keep an eye on the lead and the battle for first and second. It's going to be very, very interesting indeed. Poor Troy Uyan is really under the tough fight at the bottom right there. The leaders coming almost going to be side by side. Is this Gutierrez's opportunity? I personally would not have gone on that outside line. He's only going to open it up, but he did open it up a little bit. There's a GT3 coming out pit lane. Please stay there. He did stay there. Gutierrez almost got the run, but Tom, I definitely would not have gone to the outside for that one.
No, the inside is where you want to be at. It's great to do it around the outside anyway, because the track narrows up after turn one ends. So that was not really the best idea for the second place driver, Johnny Gutierrez, going for a move around the outside. The inside line is where you want to be at, but could maybe the Ullman Straight be the better location for the outside, because there's more room through there than it is through turn one. But there is more to come between these two. I wonder how pit strategy will play out next time around, because they will pit in again before this race is over. Gutierrez, you probably say, is more confident compared to the leader.
Yeah, GT3 started going through the pits. We did call it out earlier with JT Tammy started going off there at the same time, but they're going to have at least another 3 or 4. That bottom right is still kicking off at the same time. Troy Uyan fighting out down in the bottom right hand corner. Matt Bussing has also had a penalty. At the same time, we've lost Dan Herlock. It looks like he's taking a little bit of a trip off at the same time, but Elko Bussing in that Lamborghini Huracan has got a penalty, but the leaders are still fighting it out in the Hypercar Pros. Kesby sitting in the Ferrari 499P in that British Turkish racing machine. Behind is in front of that 9X8 Evo with the new 9X8 Evo wing that is on the car. Some like it, some hate it. I think it's absolutely despicable that they've gone and ruined a beautiful car by making it have a wing on it. But let's see what Gutierrez does with it going into turn number 1. Is he going to be able to make it through? No, he doesn't. Here at the same time, there's another penalty as well. I missed who it was for, partly due to the battle was going on. It was Luciano Acciazzo has got a penalty, unfortunately, on that one. But the 9X8, oh, he's coming into his own, Tom.
Yeah, it's coming into its own now. We're going to see a replay of an incident here. This is actually is that the top 2 they've just
There's a big Herlock in the bottom right.
Yeah, we got the replay at the bottom, in the bottom right hand corner. That's down Herlock coming through. This is live pictures in the top left. I know it says replay, but there's Herlock gone round. And there's Herlock gone round on that one. I know it's a little bit confusing, but don't worry, it's one of our new fancy things that we're bringing in at the same time. Replay in the bottom right, live pictures, main screen, okay? So that's how it's going to work. An unfortunate incident there, Ross, for Dan.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know if there was maybe some net code that caught the back end, because it just seemed very sudden. It's not the kind of spot you'd expect the back end to kick out. I don't know if it thought that it might have had collisions there, and that just kind of lightened the back end as he was pushing through the corner. But unfortunately, Elko Busnik is also now out of the race. I know that he had just served a penalty. And it looks like, he just turned off. I think it's unfortunate, because I think he's the only Huracan in the field, which, I have a little bit of a soft spot for, because I was running that car last year. And he had some pretty good pace. Unfortunately, got hit with that penalty. I think it was for speeding. And he's just pulled off now. He's doing very good, had pretty good pace. I was hoping to really see that thing take it to the end.
And unfortunately for the Huracan, it's not going to make it to the end now. The leaders are still fighting it out. Kesby, Gutierrez, X8, Ferrari. No matter if you're a Tifosi or if you're an X8 fan like I am, it doesn't matter. The battle is going to actually go right the way down to the wire. Uyan sitting in that main screen now. He's got the 5 minutes of fame. Can he hold on with Dahlgren in behind? He's got Wood of the Bruin tucked in at the same time. Uyan's going to use them back markers as much as he can. Currently, just manages to open it up, coming into the final corner now. You can see Troy Ian in the blue machine. He's having a nice little tidy battle there. Who's going to come out on top? Well, Tom, we're going to find out, I'm sure, shortly.
I'm really loving this, actually, James. I'm really looking forward to see how this one plays out. You can just see the battle for what is this concept. That must be, who's that? That's just Ian has gone round. Ian has gone round, hasn't it?
Yeah, John Ian has gone round, unfortunately. We'll have another look at that currently when we get an opportunity, but the leaders are Gutierrez and Kesby. Cannot believe RF2 did a thing on me when I was in the lead. Well, unfortunately, Vinicius Goncalves, we do rely on quite a lot of different things to make us be able to do this. As we know up in the broadcast booth when we've had it before, but Gutierrez there has cleared Kesby. That only must surely, Ross, be down the Ullman that he got that done.
I think you're right. Yeah, I mean, he'd been putting pressure on Ben Kesby for a while. You could see that he definitely had a lot more confidence and pace. So he's been able to just take advantage of that, and he finally found his opportunity and squeaked by. I don't know if there was. I was paying attention to that Uyan battle where he was right in the gaggle of those four that were not very far back in the top 5, and so I missed if there was any traffic to deal with, but they're going to still have some to deal with. Here you see Jamie Zalecki kind of trying to give them room, looking great in that AMG Mercedes, just a new car that he's been able to bring on. But yeah, looking forward to see if Kesby's able to give him anything back. He might be saving some fuel. I know that the 9X8 has been able to get a little bit of a fuel bump after last year. It was very, very hard on its tank, and it got some reprieve from that. It's still a difficult car to manage, but if you're able to tame it, I think that it does have very strong advantages that it can take advantage of here. So it might just be a case of that. Could be some fuel saving. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
Oh no, Kesby.
Oh, I think he got tangled with Carl.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a look back. I think there was an incident with Ben Kesby there. Was that the back marker that made a plate apart? We're going to see Gutierrez open up and extend his lead 6.2 seconds at the moment as well. That's kind of one of the battles, but Tom, it does look like Kesby may have had an issue there with the back marker.
It looks like he lost it onto the brakes, James. I don't think a back marker played a role in that. I think he lost it onto the brakes. So we'll get a replay what happened to Ben Kesby there. That was a really odd mistake to see by his standards. But Johnny Gutierrez can just streak along in the lead now, hoping he can just build on the margin up front. But now you can see he's got a battle going on ahead of him. I think that's 2 cars from the Hypercar AM class that are just having their own tussle. He's just coming up to lap here. But yeah, well, that was a really odd error that Kesby made there, because I would have thought it would have made an error just like that one.
Yeah, that looks like Jerry Chen's car in the 963, I think it is, behind it. So there we go. And I think he's just going to put a lap on some of the cars behind here as well. If we can get an overall, this is an incident we've got here. I believe it's with John Uyan. I believe it's Luke Mitchell that runs him in deep and then basically runs him over NASCAR style and then goes and puts himself into the wall. Ross, yes, he ran him over, but the wall tap looked a little bit bizarre. He didn't look like he was sliding that out of control.
Well, you could see there at the last minute he turned out to try and keep himself from sliding. He thought he might have had a little bit more, I think, space to get on the brakes there. But unfortunately, that wall comes up very quickly. And turn 1, just like it is in real life, is very, very rough to be able to run around on the limit because there's so much undulation. It's so bumpy there through all the different lines. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if you see very dramatic accidents more and more over time in real life that happen there. But that's certainly not uncharacteristic to see there when you've got cars really pushing at the limit. As we look back here at the Kesby incident, I think this is Sean Kelly behind him.
Oh, he hit him!
Looks like it hit
Yeah,
me,
he does get tapped.
Oh, brother! You are not going to be on the Christmas card list.
I think he lost track of his braking marker after Ben Kesby made the pass, and he just overdrove that corner.
Oh, bro, come on. You and I both know, Mr. Smith, you can guarantee there's going to be some language in Kesby's head right about now.
Oh, of course.
That's going to exceed that situation, especially as he was putting them under a lap there.
Oh, spin! Oh, that's Hutchison!
Oh, that's a bad spot. Bad. Just like I was saying before, it's single drivers just kind of having their issues and then others getting caught in it.
Yeah, Tom, and it's looking like that part of the race that we've got that kind of witching hour. You know, we're 50 minutes in at the moment and there's people going around all over the place. This is the Concalves situation as well, and unfortunately for him, he's in there onto the grass, goes in deep in the 9x8 and around he goes. So unfortunately for him, not good on that one. But yeah, it's a little bit of a witching 10 minutes, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, there's some drivers just getting a little bit, not carried away, but just pushing a little bit too hard at this stage since the pit stops had finished. This is Matthew Boyce, who's just come out of the pits there. I nearly said Bruce for a moment, but looked very carefully. His name at the bottom is Boyce. Yeah. So Johnny Gutierrez extending the margin over Ben Kesby. And in GT3s, we've got a battle going on as well, I believe. So we know no battles going on. There's been told there's going on, but it feels to me like the field is spread out now. Although there is a battle going on involving Suvic and Bell in the fight over 8th position in Hypercar. That's probably the closest battle we've got that we can tell you. There is Timon Suvic, who's ahead of Mike Bell, approaching the Ullman Straight. Can Mike Bell close in on him? I don't know where his tyres are at compared to Suvik's, but it feels like Bell definitely has a pace advantage over the last few laps or so.
I think that's one of the things we're going to find out. The pit stops for the hypercars will be coming up again in the next 5 or 10 minutes. Both of them pitted. Well, saying that, there we go. Mike Bell and Suvic in. Both of them pitted on the same lap in the first pit stop cycle there, Ross, and it looks like they're playing follow my leader on the second one.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how this GR10 Toyota is playing out. Obviously, Suvic has been up there right in the mix of things with John Ullman, as we saw earlier, and now he's up to 6th place, or his Magnus Dahlgren is up there in 6th place. Oh, yeah, is that Schlipping? William Schick, it looked like that was on his own initially, but yeah, that looked like it was a tag there.
He got tagged, I think, by Jerry Chen by the looks of it. We'll get another angle of it if we can, although we've come away from it now by the, unfortunately. But yeah, we are seeing a lot of pit stops going on in Hypercar towards, well, outside the top 4, it has to be said. Ben Kesby's still in the lead. Well, Kesby's in the lead now because Gutierrez has come in for a stop. Wouter van Brooyen is up into P2 for the time being. Jerry Chen is in the pits now. I don't know where he's picked up damage after the collisions that he has had.
Yeah, he was just literally involved in the incident that we saw. And he's also due a pit stop cycle anyway for Jerry Chen. I may have just blamed him and it might not have been. We'll have a look, see what happens as we go back through on that one. If it isn't you, Jerry, I apologise. But it does look like you've got the same livery on there at the same time. Ben Kesby leading the way at the moment. At the same moment, with Wouter de Bruin in the back. We've also got, we believe that may have been Eric Monet, and Wouter de Bruin may have had a little bit of an incident, but I believe we're going to have a look at the replay of Monet. Did he definitely hit the Mercedes? Yeah, there we go. There was definitely contact.
Definitely contact, yeah.
Well done there from our fabulous producer in the background there at the same time. Stephen Miller, hi. My gearbox starting miss upshifting inconsistently a few laps after the start. Never done that before. Engine over rev too many times, I guess, and he blew it up, Ross.
It's not the easiest thing to do, but it can happen. Certainly, it's for a GT3. That's pretty odd for that to be able to take place. I am impressed. Hats off to you, sir, to be able to blow a GT3 engine, but I feel bad for Steven too, because he was in position to do really well. I'm not sure if he'd been able to offer much challenge up to Alexander McQuarrie, who's still sitting 3rd overall in GT. and dominating the GT3 AM class. But I think that he would have been able to certainly get a podium if nothing else, and so that's unfortunate to hear that he was able to do that. But you know, there's always the next one, Stephen. We'll see you at the next race.
Yeah, we're going to have a look at a Wout de Bruin moment here that's taken place on the racetrack. We're just going to get that going now. There we go, in the background. So we're going to have a look and see what happened to Wout de Bruin here. When he, that was again with the AMG. Oh, was that Schlittling again? Is that Schlittling's livery?
David Junt, I think. The teammate for Schlichting.
Oh,
unfortunately, there wasn't.
Got the same livery.
Yes, yeah, they're both running that the anime livery for BHR.
So just to confuse us a little bit more, JT Tammy leading the GT3 Pros at the moment. He's got a 25-second gap over Alan Holden. Never really looked in trouble at all from that Aston Martin Vantage that he's in at the moment. Yeah, he is in an Aston Martin. I had to nearly check myself then. For JT, never really looked in trouble at all there, Tom, and has been out in front since the beginning of this race, and it looks like he's going to be out in front right the way to the end.
I can imagine. So what a healthy lead he's got over Holden, who's running in second place in the number 25. Ironically enough, he's 25 seconds behind, so he's got some work to do for there. But we've got a couple of pit stops over in the Hypercar AM class. There's Maher and Hutchison coming in. I imagine Hutchison will be there for a little bit longer because of the damage he picked up after the spin he had at turns 2 and 3. As far as I can remember. And we've also got pit stops in Hypercar Pro involving Kirby and Alonda.
Yeah, a few pit stops taking place there. That hands the lead, Ross, to Johnny Gutierrez in the 9X8. Can he open it up and extend it and take the win, do we think?
Taking the win is a tall order at this point. We're not even halfway through yet. It's certainly going to help him. I think that's, going back and forth with Ben Kesey, we're going to see just exactly how these fuel strategies are going to play out. Both of them are very close together, and I'm also watching the other Ferrari 499 with Antonis Papalanopoulos, easy for me to say, Papalanopoulos, who just came in. He's leading over Eric Moynet, and he should be able to come out and really do some damage there as we're watching this battle for fourth. Again, back up in the top, De Bruin, Uyan Kesby is going to be mixed up in that. That's going to hold him up, so I think that's going to make a bit of a difference as Gutierrez is going to be running away. Yeah,
we're going to find out just what goes on here at the same time with these guys as they're continuing to find it out on the race circuit. Lambo has no pace at all. Rears dropped off when they were above 100 degrees for the entire lap. Tyres are too soft, giving you no chance for a stiff car to do something with setup to help manage that. That is from Elko Bussing there, Ross. Do you kind of agree there at the moment?
It is a stiff car. Certainly this track, it's not a great one for the Lamborghini, just because it doesn't like to run soft. It likes to be stiff. It's hard to get it to do that. So I can see certainly with the settings that he has, it would probably end up heating the tires probably more than what you might anticipate. Certainly for some of the other cars. I know that the AMG, the McLaren, they're all both very poised as we're watching a really good battle here going into turn one. Hopefully that's going to resolve pretty well.
Troy Uyan, Wout de Bruin.
It's not over yet.
De Bruin's going to try and come back at him and not going to be able to make it through. The interesting situation behind that is Kirby and Barker in behind for the CMS Pro boys. They're going to continue to fight. Don't forget Kirby had his penalty at the beginning, so he's had to take that one. And now we've got Dahlgren and Troy Uyan fighting out. Troy Uyan and Wout de Bruin fighting out with Kirby in the mix at the same time. Dan Kirby coming back through the field there, Tom, after his penalty earlier on. Is he going to try and get this lead and get the win, do we think?
We'll wait and see, but I've been following this battle for fourth over the last lap or so. This is nice to see Ian coming up the order. There's two Oyens in the field, isn't there? There's like a father and a son. Troy Uyan, Troy Uyan, who's in fourth place, and John Uyan, who's down in 10th place, not to get confused between the two. And I think we've got a DNF as well, as far as what we've been told, but we'll go on to that in a moment.
Yeah, it does look like we've got DNF says Stephen Miller, Luke Mitchell. It looks like they've unfortunately may have had an issue, but we'll find out that as well when we get more clearance in our aero. But at the moment, we're looking at the De Bruin with Kirby, with Barker, and it looks like at the moment Troy Ian has escaped off up the road. The management of traffic may have had something to do with that. He's opened up 1.9 seconds here. Great little fight and great extent for Troy. Troy Ross, he's done such a good job this season. He's been so much more consistent, and it showed that he's been quick as well.
Yeah, he's always been very strong. Like as soon as he came in, I mean, he's obviously takes after his dad John, and is able to really get a lot of good racing experience. He's been running in a lot of big leagues over time, and he's got his dad's help enabling him to get really good setup work going in, which he definitely takes advantage of. So he's been able to really shine and show that he's got pace, and he's going to be one to watch as we come into the closing sectors. If those top guys are having any kind of hold up or complications whatsoever, I think he's going to be right in a good position to pounce on it.
You think he's going to be the one teaching Dad, Ross?
I think he's going to be able to show him how to really get the maximum pace out of the cars that they set up. But don't put anything out of John. I mean, he's even though he's in his 60s, he still knows how to turn a wheel.
That's all right, Ross. I just wanted to put you on the spot and see if you would actually answer it, to be blatantly honest with you. As well, whether or not that would be the case. I'm sure John sat in the car going, no, James, not happening. So we'll find out on that one. De Bruin now in the fight at the same time here for De Bruin. That's now Cameron Parker. He's lost a place to Kirby. Uyan's gone motoring up the road at the same time. Is Cameron Barker going to do the same in that Cadillac? It's a Cadillac V Series Cadillac there versus an Alpine out in front. They're motoring through traffic. They're getting a little bit jiggly wiggly. There's a back marker in the process at the same time. Is that Eric Monet, I believe? It may have been. He didn't clear him this time. Cam Barker held on there, Tom, but surely he's got to be trying to let him having to go into turn one.
Well, he should be able to pull off a move down the pit straight here on De Bruyne. Here does Cameron Barker as he goes for it into turn number one. He goes, and I think this is going to be as easy as what Ian did on Kirby not too long ago.
Yeah, there you go. The job is done. Cameron Barker did get the job done over De Bruin. Unfortunately for Vuitton there, who's lost 3 places over the last few laps. He's going to be looking at coming back. The interesting thing now is the Kirby and Uyan. We've got the old guard, the champ who's won everything, and we've got Troy Uyan, who's going to be out of the up-and-coming rookie and having a good old fight with Dan Kirby. And now we're going to find out how it goes. Here are the mid-race leaderboard. Johnny Gutierrez in first with Ben Kesby, Magnus Dahlgren, Troy Uyan, and Dan Kirby is your top 5, the ones at the moment. And moving on from that, you can see Tom Lane DNF'd, Luke Mitchell DNF'd. We saw what happened to both of them. In the Hypercar AMS, Antonis Paparanopoulos taking the lead at the moment, with Jerry Chen sitting in second, John Mayer with Matt Bice, Eric Monet, Mike Bice, and Gwilym Bank rounded out the top 7. George Angelides a lap down from that group. In the GTs, we'll have a look and see who is leading the GT Pros. Well, it's JT Tammy as always. He's out in front at the moment. Alan Holden in second, Peter Grau in third. Then David Jun is a 20-second gap for JT and Alan Holden, with Jaime Zalecki in sixth, William Schlittling in fifth. Moving on to the GT3 AMS, it's going to be, who's it going to be, ladies and gentlemen? Well, we're going to find out very, very shortly. I can actually tell you who it's going to be, if that helps. Alexander McQuarrie, he's out in first, with Peter Meyer in second and Adam Gray. Only 3 cars left. We lost Stacey Scotts from second in the class. And then, of course, we heard what happened to Stephen Miller. He blew the car up somehow, which is quite impressive. William Schlittling here has got Jaime Zalecki tucked in right behind him. There's a hypercar on the outside. Very, very brave going all the way round, but it looks like he's going to be able to do this. Down into turn one, the hypercar does go through. I think that's one of the Bices, actually. I think that might be Mike, who has just gone past there at the same time. But this, we are back up now with Troy Uyan and Dan Kirby, who's just got through. Kirby's just cleared him there, Tom. and now Dan Kirby Motors on his way.
Yes, absolutely. So Kirby disposing of Uyan with no problem at all. Selecki looks like he clipped the barrier as that hypercar went round the outside before the pit straight there. So that was a little bit unfortunate for Selecki, but he's able to keep in touch with Schlitting for the time being. I'd love to go back to that battle in a moment, but we're going to see a replay of what has happened. This is the overtake from Kirby on Uyan into the right-hander. I think is this Fangio corner that he's just got by him at?
To the hairpin.
It's the hairpin,
yeah, run out of the hairpin, unfortunately. Down into the hairpin, so it's coming down from turn 6, which is Gurney Bend, I believe it's called. And Dan Kirby got the job done. Now coming down into the Ullman, down the Ullman they go, coming into the final corner here, turn 17. You can see Kirby's cleared a little bit of traffic. Ian's going to have to try and pull it in hot, pull it in tight to the wall. He does manage to clear it. Ross, we sit back and we look at things like that Troy Ian's doing, and he didn't really have much of an issue. But just how hard is it passing traffic?
Oh, it can be incredibly difficult, or you can just have something gifted to you if you manage to line it up just right. I think in that case with Troy, he was just opening up the lane and letting Daniel by. He didn't want to sit there and fight him. He knew that he's going to have the pace. And at this point, you know, they are pro. They're both pros, but they're also both on a CMS Pro team. So it's red and blue. So they have mutual interest in helping each other out. And I think in this case, he was just letting Dan by because he knew that it was just going to hurt both of them. So off you go.
Well, we've got John Huyan now. He's got Dan Herlock tucked in right behind him, CMS Pro Blue. Smile Power Racing, who's just gone and spat up a load of dirt there, unfortunately, for Dan Herlock, trying to fight his way back through the field, of course, after he had a penalty right at the beginning, and then he had a couple of spins. He's sitting in 11th place at the moment, and we'll see how this one goes on going forward. Can Dan Kirby catch Dahlgren? Well, we're going to find out. Can Kesby catch Gutierrez, Tom? Lots of things still to be decided here with 56 minutes to go.
Yeah, we've still got more pit stops to come, I would imagine. Kesby's dropped back, actually. I think he's made a mistake in sector 3, yeah. Hence why we've got that yellow flag. I think Kesby has made a mistake, James.
Well, I'm sure we will be able to find out very, very shortly to see if we can find out what happened to that one. But Kesby now 9.2 seconds back. I'm going to probably put that down to that he did make an error. Troy Uyan diving up the inside to making sure he clears the GT3 here, Ross. If he is Kesby made a mistake again, is it going to be a tough run for Kesby now?
It's a close one coming off the corner with one of the Mistral cars in front of him. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a tough one for Kesby if he's going to continue to have issues here. It looks like, is that the Lexus in front of him, I think? Yeah.
Whoa,
oh,
bro.
yeah.
That's like miscommunication, isn't it?
I think I think he was just anticipating him going in a little bit deeper there. And once you're committed to a certain line and braking point, it's really hard to back off. Not that say that you can't. I mean, it's really hard to avoid. And yeah, that was Peter Meyer there in the Lexus, but it's something that you got to pay attention to. I don't know if that's going to come back to bite him in the next race. It certainly slowed him down a little bit here as he had to kind of take avoiding action. But he's got a pretty good lead at the moment. I mean, he's looking at it, he's about 10 seconds down behind Gutierrez. I said lead, but Gutierrez is up in front. And it's about another 14 seconds to Magnus Dahlgren, in that GR010. So he's in a good spot. He's kind of on his own island at the moment. But yeah, he can't have any more little slip-ups like that if he wants to really have a good shot at taking the win here.
Yeah, this is one of the few battles that's taking place down in GT3s at the moment. They are very spread out. We're not neglecting the class. It's really hard to show you when people are just driving around trying to manage traffic. You can see Peter Grau and David Schunt, they were half a second back. They are still half a second back. All the hypercars have started to go through, and now you can see whether or not Grau's going to hold on. This is Grau's first race here. Tom, what do we think Peter's going to be feeling at the moment? He's got all of this experience, with all the cars hurtling behind him at the moment, and he's sitting third in class podium place.
Well, he's doing a solid job so far. He's got David Young, who I know rather well actually from somewhere else. But he's doing a super job, is Peter, with where he is at in third place. And Yunt closing in behind. And I think Yunt has got Schlitzing, who's like another 19 seconds back. You can just see Schlitzing on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen there, just trying to make up ground on those ahead. But in terms of... It's David Yunt, sorry, my apologies, although I was looking at another driver. But yeah, this is David Yunt, who's closing in on Peter Grau all the time. No way through just yet. The outside is probably where you want to be at for this corner, rather than turn one, because the track just closes up coming out of the first corner, unlike the hairpin at the end of the Oldman Straight.
Yeah, we'll see how these guys get on. We're on the nose in the bottom right-hand corner of David Junt as he's closing in on Peter Grau. Grau now sitting in second place. Junt now in third. We'll see if they can stay there at the moment, but for how long will be the question. Don't forget there was some unfortunate incidents earlier on for a couple of people here. Alan Holden is sitting in the lead of the GT3s with these guys in behind. JT Tammy has just been into the pits. That's why he's dropped out of the lead. Don't panic, he hasn't had an incident. He's just got in pit lane, I believe. But we'll find out what happens down here with GT3s. Ross, the GT3 class at the moment, is this the calm before the storm, do we think, with these? Because they are quite spread out. This is the closest battle we've got. I mean, I see GT3 sometimes as like a pressure cooker, Ross, and then all of a sudden it will just go bang, generally towards the end of the race. Is that where we're at with these at the moment?
Yeah, I think we need to be a little bit careful because, like, yeah, they can spread out. But like I was saying at the top of the show, we were talking about the way that the track is, and it can spread fields out, particularly when you have certain drivers that are in a much better position with their setup, and they can just very easily start separating themselves away. You know, start clearing the cars behind them, and there's a bit to be said about some of the pit strategy. There isn't much you can do with tires with the GT3s, just the one compound. So not really anything you can do to maximize efforts there. There is a little bit to be done with fuel, so you might be able to do just a touch with fuel saving coming to the end. It's going to be really right on the nose, so you want to make sure that when you're going through these first stints, you're doing everything you can to maximize the tank, you know, land where you're right on a lap division, so that way you can just get the most out of the fuel that you have on board, the weight that you have on board that's working those tires. I am curious to see if any of the drivers decide as they come through on their second stop, if they want to take tires and try and do something there. I think that's where you might see some of the strategies diverge if some drivers opt to take that extra 30-40 seconds from that pit stop and get the fresh tires and try and catch up to those who might have opted to try and run their tires all the way to the end if they've managed to hold on to them early. That's, I think, where you're going to start to see some of these strategies play up. Otherwise, most of it is just trying to run your race, fuel the car, and you saw a lot of that happen at the real Sebring, where there was quite a bit of action. I would say a lot more. You had a lot more GTs running there, but there were certainly a lot of strategies that played out. A lot of the drivers that were kind of running towards the front in the beginning weren't in the same position towards the end. A lot of the Ferraris had issues, and you're going to see a lot more collisions between Hypercar and GT before this thing comes to an end.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be one of the interesting things to see what goes on. I'm getting word that Mike Bell's had a drama. We are going to find out. Grau and Jun and Schlittling is also 24 seconds back at the moment. We'll keep an eye out and see what goes on that one. But I think Schlittling may have had an issue with Hutchinson that we are going to show you, if I'm not mistaken, very, very shortly. Thank you very much there, Mr. Producer Paul. This is the problem for Schlittling and the hypercar there.
The pro guy. Oh, no, it's not. I think that's Gilly.
It's not Hutchinson, is it? Hutchinson's in a blue, isn't he? Or is it
It's a
Hutchinson?
bit clumsy. I think that was.
Well, that looks like 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. That's our lead, I believe, going through. So we'll keep an eye. We think it may have been Hutchinson there, but we've got Peter Grau and David Junt having a lead battle. This is the battle for the lead now in GT3 Pros. Schlittling, obviously, we're there. JT Tammy at the same time with Charleso. And we'll see what goes on with these guys with 48 minutes to go. We have got another hypercar stop pitted with about 10 minutes to the top of the hour. It's got to be coming up within the next few laps, probably within the next 3 or 4 laps. We'll keep an eye out and see when the hypercars go in. But at the moment, it's Gutierrez leading the way with Kesby, 8.9 second. Magnus Dahlgren in behind at 22.3. Then Kirby, 29.8 back. This is all from the leader. Then we got Uyan Barker, De Bruin, Bell, and Tuvik. Paparanopoulos doing a stunning job in the hypercar AM, still leading the way. He did drop down earlier on, but it looks like he has managed to get it back there. And as I was reading the time and tower, it disappears. So we'll give it a minute to pop back up, and I'll let you know what was going on once more. Thank you. There. And down in the GT3, Grau, Schittling, and JT Tammy. Then Alexander McQuarrie has just looked strong through since the beginning of the race, qualified up in 5th in class. Absolutely dominant situation. Whoa! You're on the grass! Is he going to... Oh, he did manage to get it stopped. That looked a little bit hairy there, Tom, for Davidson.
Yeah, very, very hairy indeed. There's a hypercar coming through there. That's Johnny Gutierrez who's getting held up. Big sign there. And who's that?
That could have been... Oh no.
Next round as well.
Gilles and Gutierrez.
Both have gone.
Very messy.
You think?
That's an understatement there, Ross. With both of the cars just spinning around there. Yeah, that was a little bit messy. Yeah.
I'm not entirely
But Tom was right back with each other.
Not going to really try and see what went on there. I think there was a little bit of an urgency and a little bit of oh, oopsie, I did it again and got it wrong. But let's have a look. I knew that was going to do that. I'm so sorry, everybody in the booth. As we got, there you go. Look, you can see Gutierrez going into the corner. He got it wrong. Gilles Lalonde's on the grass. He then continues to spin and accelerate the car, and then he gets it wrong, and bang! Don't hit each other. Oh.
That's painful.
Not ideal. And now we've still got the lead for the GTs with the hypercars in the mix there. Ross, Gutierrez a little bit overzealous.
I think that was just a bit of a tough spot because they're all coming into the same location. I would expect that they wouldn't get too excited with each other between teammates to have that kind of go off. I think that they just kind of got distracted with the GT battle that's still going around, and he manages to just get by Peter there. That was a good, clean pass. Very strong fight between the two of them. Great to see them both giving each other space and respect. But yeah, I think if Peter Gray is going to come back, he's probably going to have to take care of his tires. I know David Junt has had a lot of experience with these cars, so I think he's more mindful, I think, of the long game with the way that these cars use their resources.
Yeah, this is a Hutchinson situation in the car.
Oh, jeez. He's coming to pits.
I don't know where I would put that, because Kesby did have the whole right side of the circuit there. Ross, you would know better than me. Where would you think?
Well, it's kind of odd. Hutchinson would be so far out to the left like that when he's trying to come in. I'm wondering if he had some kind of, because he DNF'd right after that, and I'm wondering if maybe he just had something very suddenly happen that he was reacting to and just didn't even see Ben Kesby. And fortunately, he did see him, that he was coming through, and didn't just immediately pull over, but that was a close one.
Definitely was. A few pit stops taking shape at this moment in time. We'll keep you up to date with who has gone in and what. We did say the hypercars would be coming in probably very, very shortly, and it's just been volumed in my ear. We've got 6 DNFs and 1 DQ there, and taking shape in the race at the moment. DNFs, Luke Mitchell, Elko Bussing, Stacey Scott, Stephen Miller, Tom Lane, and Ryan Paulbert Reyes. DQ for Carl Struhel, Ross. That's an interesting one. We don't see that very often in this series.
No, he usually sticks to... He was having those issues, though, so I'm wondering if maybe one of the collisions, like when he went off into the tire barrier, might have hurt his car a little bit too much, and he just kind of called it quits after that. It's just too hard to drive, as we see the Dark Thunder teammates just driving by a lot of their GT3 associates kind of going in for their pit stops. So I'm wondering if they're going to be able to make up some positions on track here by getting some fuel longevity.
we talked about the Aston Martin, and it's looked strong at the hands of JT Tammy. We got Matt and James driving it here. Is the Aston Martin really as strong as we're giving it credit for, or is it just strong in the right hands? It's like, you know, Max in a Red Bull, we put him in a Haas. Does that make the Haas good? But is the Aston Martin as strong as it says there, Ross?
I mean, it's certainly a very good car. It's very well balanced. It manages itself very well. It's front engine, rear wheel drive, and it's got a good balance to it. And it feels supple. And on a track like this, you definitely want that. It's the same thing with the AMG, and the reason why David Junt and Peter Grail are up there running with them. I was hoping to see Jamie Zalecki move up. I know that he was further up the board just a little bit ago, but man, this is some pretty stiff competition. Even the Lexus, and Peter Mayer has had some of his own problems, but he's been able to keep that up there. He's second place in GT3M, not as much competition there, but he's doing what he can. And then, of course, you've got Luciano Ichazo, who's, I think he's our only 911 left at the moment. I have to double check that. Could be wrong, but sorry, Max Sunkenlap is also running it. But I mean, they're all pretty good. I think this track in particular is very well suited to both the AMG and the Vantage. And I think once we get to some of the other ones, if Elko Busink is able to come back and do something with the Lambo at some of the other tracks, then we might be able to see that one go. Oh boy, James trying to really push the outside of that car.
He's got it in the
what's
wall.
happening there.
Matt,
I don't know.
was he in the?
He caught it.
was
He caught it.
Oh, bro, I thought he was going in the wall. I have got to
Yeah.
be honest. I thought Matt looked like he was nosediving that wall there, Tom, and it was not going to be good.
No, it looks like it was going to be an enormous shunt there for Overton. We're going to get a replay to see this. This is the overtake from David Yunt, isn't it? Around the outside here. Around. This is coming towards the hairpin. Yeah, of Peter Grow, yeah. So that's the Yunt through around the outside. That's a fantastic, I would say, there. Most two great that much later compared to Grow, and that move was coming all along, wasn't it? Since Yunt was closing them in over the last 10 laps or so.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a punishment for changing cars, Ross? I only do that because I'm picking up on a YouTube comment from Elko. Big chance next race there won't be any Lambo, though, since the lack of straight line speed is also an issue for overtaking with these soft tyres being able to push in the corners. Is that the story?
I don't know if that means that he's going to be out completely, or if he is planning on changing cars. So we'll have to have a conversation with him later on. But I know that it is very frustrating when you're in a car. Knowing how that car behaves, it did get a lot of work on in the off season. So I'm not exactly sure how it's getting adjusted going into this season. But if it's anything like it was before, yeah, it is pretty stiffly sprung. So if that's not his cup of tea, particularly at this race, but at races coming up, yeah, he might just say, I don't want to deal with this anymore, and move to something else like the Aston Martin or the AMG.
Yeah, we're going to find out there as well. Goodyear is just about to get the lead over Dan Kirby. Kirby's still in pit lane, and Gutierrez goes back to the top there where he was last time. So great job for Johnny Gutierrez. Dan Kirby now sitting in second. Man, I'm so angry, says Benjamin Porteous. I'm missing Sebring. It looks so much fun out there. Why did you miss Sebring, Ben? That's the way you got to ask yourself. And was it the time zone change? Is that what caught you out? Because it certainly did catch us out up here in the booth. So there we go. Time zone change causes a little bit of an issue. Kirby coming out. It's going to be in front of Troy Uyan. Very in front of Troy Uyan.
He's behind him.
Uyan's just cleared him there, Tom.
Yeah, he's just cleared him as Uyan, so he's managed to complete an undercut on Kirby on that occasion. But Gutierrez, despite that spin, which most certainly would cause damage, is into the lead by 15 seconds. I don't know whether he actually did any repair jobs in the pit stop that he did. He probably didn't because the car was damaged, or maybe. So he wasn't in for that long, was Gutierrez, as much as I thought he would have been. So Gutierrez in the lead now by 15 seconds over Ben Kesby. And
there you go. We're going to find out what goes on with these guys continuing to have a go in on track there. Johnny Gutierrez out in front over Kesby, 14 seconds long. And then we're going to have a look at, I can tell you the pit stop times currently at the moment from there. Well, Johnny Gutierrez 58, Kesby 72 on that. And then we've got Dahlgren and Uyan and Kirby. So a couple of long stops for people there. And stationary time at 24.2 for Gutierrez, 37.8 for Kesby, 25.25 for Uyan, for Dahlgren, and Uyan 38 for Kirby. So we'll find out they're clearly different lengths in pit stops here at the same time. Johnny Gutierrez trying to clear a back marker. That's one of the bases, and I'm not sure which way round that is. I know they've both got separate coloured cars, but Gutierrez trying to get through. John Uyan got Kirby tucked in right behind him at the moment. And we're going to see if Kirby can manage to catch back up after the pit stop cycle. Don't worry, Papagiannopoulos has not been in the pits for quite as long as that, I don't think. I do believe he's out and running on the track at the moment. There we go, as he's going to get out in front by, wow, it's going to be very close. Can we go to that? Papagiannopoulos coming out, I believe, with Chen.
This battle's intensifying now, isn't it?
Yeah, this is Troy and Dan Kirby. Yeah, and there's Papagiannopoulos and Jerry Chen in the hypercars. Jerry right tucked up in behind him at the moment there, Tom.
Yes, so we're seeing the battles galore right now on the left-hand corner of the screen. This is Papagiannopoulos and Chen fighting over the honours in hypercar AMP. So let's see, you can just see Papagiannopoulos getting a little bit out of shape on the exit there. And we've got, say, yellow flag as well as we were watching. There is Kesby, who has made a really, really poor mistake, and that's allowed Dahlgren to get into second position. We'll get a replay to find out what had been going on with Dan Kesby as he weaves to get rid of all the mud and dirt off his tyres following that spin. But yes, there is a change for second place there, and we could well see a change of lead in the hypercar AM class. This is Cherry Chen right behind Papagiannopoulos onto the Almond Straight, and we're going to see a potential overtake in a moment here. I think Cherry Chen is going to take over the lead here of the class. Does he do it on the inside? He should be able to. Yeah, he's got the move done before the corner had arrived, and so that battle is over for now. So this is a replay. This must be Kesby's spin further on, or just earlier. And how has he managed to do it? Has he caught the curb? No, in fact, just carried a little bit too much speed and got on the power too soon.
Yeah, something that's probably easily done though, Ross, isn't it? When you're this late in to the race, and you know you're feeling a little bit tired, and you're coming into dark as well. We can see it's getting a little bit darker out there. Not too drastic. I thought we would have been in dark a lot earlier than this, Ross.
Well, it's set up to run from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. just like the real race does, and it's set at 10x. So it's about right. You're gonna see it's a little bit cloudy. It looks like out there, so I'm not sure how much of the sunset we're gonna see.
Yeah.
Quick.
Oh, Kesby's gone again.
Yeah,
That's
the
not
rear
gonna help
tyres,
him.
I think, are cooked, James. Sorry, Ross, but I think Kesby's tyres have just overheated off that earlier spin, and he's managed to spin again there. So Kesby just needs to use the next few laps just to settle down a little bit before he gets back into improvement.
Yeah, we'll see. He's now back into P5 at the moment. Is he going to be able to calm that car down? He's got Mike Bell in behind him. We're going to have a look at the replay here of Matt Bice. Oh, so Matt's in the yellow, Mike's in the green. So it was Matt. Oh, dude, cross that. Nope. Can't stop it, unfortunately. LeBonk for the Bices. But Kesby at the moment, though, Ross, probably got to settle down a little bit. Driving a little bit hot-headed, and he's going to lose another place to Mike Bell.
Yeah, the off at Jen to be in was a little bit unusual, but not unexpected. He's you can see it's getting very dark very quickly now, so accelerating through that phase. But yeah, Kesby's unfortunately, this is what he really needed to not have happen.
Here we go. Replay of Walton de Bruin. I think that was Max Something lap again.
Oh, dear me.
He must have come off of a spin or a crash or something and thought he was getting out of the way. It's a terrible spot.
Oh dear.
Can we have a look at that again in slow-mo, please? Because I got a funny feeling Max back end is already going and he's gone to try and correct it. Can we have a look? Because the way he comes out of the corner, watch the rear end of the car. It does already look a little bit loose for me. I think that's the thing. And it does, yeah, he's got damage at the same time. But as he comes through the corner, he's already there. He starts to almost sort of slide and correct. Maybe I'm giving him credit, but
I think he was. I think you're exactly right. I think he was damaged.
Yeah.
It looked like it was rear suspension, and that because you saw him in the previous corner, it really wanted to over rotate, and as he went through the double bend there, Ben Kesby's still having issues. It just pulled the car back over to the left, and unfortunately, it was just right into Valtteri Brun.
yeah, I think that's the thing. This is a little bit before what we were looking at. This is Mac again. Oh, he's done this so. Oh, wow.
Oh.
Can we get a cockpit view of that, please? I'd like to know if there was some form of wheel issue on that one, because that looked very bizarre. He's turning left and he's gone right. I felt like I was in the episode of Cars, turn left to go right there, but that seemed very, very bizarre way of trying to do that. Let's see if we can set that replay up in the cockpit for us on that one, and we'll find out if there was a technical error, because to be fair, even that doesn't even look like a normal racing line, Tom, compared to anything else.
Yeah, so
He must
it's like so he's turning a little bit, then goes straight, then turn in, and then just tries to correct the slide. And yeah, there was just not a lot he could have done about it. But that is a very, very bizarre way of going through the corner there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, well, some of us will even sort of look back and think, does look like Ben may have just had another bit of an issue, but he is up behind Mike Bell once more, so it can't have been that dramatic, as he's half a second back away. That is, I believe, that may have been Walter de Bruin is going through on. Obviously, we saw Walter getting involved in his own little dramas a little bit earlier on, but here is the mistake from Ben. That's going in for Gender Bean and coming into Le Mans. And through he goes, just a big old snap, manages to save it and cracks on his way. But he's got to settle that car down at the moment, because at the moment he's 20.2 seconds away from your leader in the Hypercar Pros, the Goody Eras. Chen's got a 20-second lead over Mayer there, John Mayer. JT Tammy leading the way over Alan Holden, and then Alexander McQuarrie. Well, dude, you might as well wrap it up now. You've done an absolute stellar job. Been absolutely flying there as well. But that again, Ross, was probably due down to McQuarrie's qualifying, where he put it fifth in class.
Yeah, he's just got incredible pace, and he's been able to stay very steady. I haven't seen any indication that he's been in anybody else's troubles. So he's kind of putting on a clinic right now. He has no competition around him. And in fact, he's all the way up well ahead of everyone in GT3 Pro. So he's just kind of on his own little island at the moment, just enjoying life. So hats off to him. I'm sure this will probably push him up into the pro class at some point if he keeps having races like this.
But why?
Why would he be pro?
Yeah, why would you sit back? He may go into the next race and have an absolute rotten one. Does that mean he goes back into AM?
Well, it all depends. So we actually, a little bit behind the scenes, we're looking at an ELO system to be able to do some driver rankings. As we talked about at the beginning of the season, we went in and we changed it so that way it very much mirrors the driver licensing system. And then based off of that, we move it into whatever the series calls for. So if you've got Pro and AM, then you determine where you want to split the field. Oh no, Timon Suvic is giving it up to Daniel Herlock there. But yeah, we're using that new system, and then we're looking at the ELO to be able to refine some of the driver rankings. So it's all going to depend on where drivers point there. So if and McQuarrie has obviously shown that he's very strong in NARS and elsewhere. So if if he just keeps having good races, we'll eventually get to a point where we can kind of pin that benchmark and say, yep, this is where you should be, and then move it up accordingly.
Well, there we go. We're going to find out on that one. Looks like, sounds like Sunderlap has got himself a penalty for some dramatics, but Dan Herlock and Timon Suvic continuing here with their battles in 8th and 9th as the Cadillac versus the Toyota GR010. As these guys continue to fight on this one, we've got the replay here of Mike Bice's moment in the dark. I believe that's one. Oh, dude, you're not stopping that.
Too much grass. Oh.
Been there, done that, and we've seen that before, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Matt do the same thing? Matt do the same thing in his Toyota a little bit earlier on. So we've got James Walker's got himself a penalty after leaving pit lane there, and at the moment, 28 minutes to go. Tom, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what goes on over these next 28 minutes.
I couldn't agree more, and we've got this insane battle going on between the hypercars of in the pro class, that is, especially in the fight for the final podium position between the likes of Kirby, Oyen, Bell and Kesby. But let's not rule out the strategy side of things, because I would say we may have another pit stop or so before the race is over.
Yeah, we'll see what goes on that one as these guys coming towards the end. Troy and Mike Bell, I do believe there may be one more stop for the hypercars. There's definitely one more for the GTs incoming, so that's going to mix well. We're saying that, as I said, Jaime Zalecki and Overton are in the pit lane currently, so we'll see what goes on. We obviously lost Wayne Hutchinson, Mitchell, Elko Bussing, Scotts, Miller, Lane, Paulbert Reyes. Luke's in the YouTube chat actually. I had a stinker. Pace was great, but jumped the start and then drove like a plum, trying to make up for it. So there we go on that one. So we'll see how this one goes and whether or not, as we've got a replay at the moment of Barker hitting the grass. Already he was hitting the grass going in there, and unfortunately it looks like Barker has gone round on that one. So see what goes on as these guys coming into the last 26 minutes. And at the moment, we've got Troy Huyan and Mike Bell are second apart. There's one of the Bices in the middle on this one. Ross, what are we thinking about when we're coming into this part of the race now with 26 minutes to go?
Well, we're obviously right coming into that window where hypercars will be able to do their last stop for fuel, because they're going to be in that 22, like I said, 25 minute window. So probably on this lap, you might see some of them just dive in and just top off the tank to get the maximum fill rate. You might have them go a little bit longer if they've been able to save just a wee bit more. Ooh, hopefully not any GT and hypercar action. Oh, that was a nice tuck in. Good frame of mind there to be able to just squeeze in between those hypercars. We've seen a lot of incidents there with the entry into pit road where drivers have had some close calls, some that we haven't even seen on broadcast, but it's a very tricky spot, particularly if you've been carrying too much speed to the outside and just try to pull in. It's obviously very difficult to run the inside of that corner too. It's really, really bumpy through there, and I think a lot of drivers, especially as they're on more used tires, they're finding that it's a lot more difficult to hug that inside line and be able to go into the pits. So it's a corner that's fraught with danger, and it's pinned right between that one and turn one. So both that kind of stretch is sort of like a tornado alley for a lot of these drivers, unfortunately. I am kind of curious to see what Tom's thinking of this race, though.
In terms of how I feel the race has gone, I think it's certainly more intense than it has already been, well, than I thought it was going to be before the event had started. But it's nice to see that we've got the small gaps involving the hypercar pros, because I thought it'd be much bigger gaps by this stage of the race. We've seen it involving the GTs, obviously JT Tammy dominating proceedings since the very beginning, it has to be said, and the same with Alexander McCreary in the LMGT3 AM class. He's just coming into the pit road, actually, speaking of him, but he's got a big enough cushion over Meyer behind to maintain the advantage in his own class. We're going to see a replay here. So this is a repeat. Is this a repeat of what Ben Kesby did earlier? Yeah. This is Ben Kesby.
Wow.
So yeah, so Kesby continuing on his way. He's just around about 3 seconds behind Bell, and we've got a battle for P2 going on in the Hypercar AMS. Yeah, so this is the AM class. This is John Maher and Antonis Papanopoulos fighting for honours in that particular one. Second place it is, and yeah, so my apologies for the pronunciation, but yes, so Maher just trying to make it as difficult as possible there for Antonis, just going to the outside there. Does the Ferrari brake a little bit later compared to the Porsche? He does not, unfortunately, but he's able to do a slingshot overtake around the outside there, but Maher is not having any of it, but the Ferrari has found his way through. Very, very nicely done.
Gorgeous. Yeah, that was, you said it, that's a great battle. And those two have been going at it. Really, really awesome to see the Porsche and 499 taking that Porsche Ferrari battle going, as we see, is that Kesby going through? Had a George Antolidis. Oh, and right behind, that's Jamie Zalecki. Couldn't really advance there, so like a lot of back markers getting in his way. Poor Kesby, though. I mean, what a race to have where he was just running at the top, and then all of a sudden, he's, by mistakes of his own, nobody else was involved with it. He just slides back, and now he's just, you know, he's kind of just falling down the well, I guess you could say. I mean, it's not a total disaster yet, but I mean, from first to sixth, and now he's 21 seconds behind first place.
I just wonder, you know, on his latest set of tyres, Ross, whether the latest set just haven't treated him at all, whether it was like a used set that he had put on, or whether it was just a completely brand new set. But this latest stint that he has had has not treated him very, very well compared to the opening stages. And I do feel for him, because he deserved to be fighting at the top before he made those mistakes. Gutierrez had an error of his own as well. We've got pit stops going on in GT Tammy in the pits. He should be able to maintain the lead over Holden. He was so far front. He had like something like a 50-second lead, so he might just lose the lead for the time being, but Holden is expected to make another pit stop, and even if he doesn't, Tammy will have the tyres to make the overtake sooner rather than later. Troy unexpectedly puts a wheel on the grass there ahead of Mike Bell, who is chasing him. But the gap is coming down between Gutierrez and Dahlgren. It was down to 2 seconds, albeit before Dahlgren has made his way into pit road, Ross.
Yeah, and I just happened to catch, I was a little bit distracted here looking at some of the interactions between James Walker and one of the other hypercars, because as like you were saying, they're coming in for some of their pit stops. I was kind of surprised to see JT Tammy come into the pits a moment ago. It seems like it's a little bit later in the run. I would have expected him like maybe a lap or two prior, but he's in fact, he's just coming up now. Yeah, Holden has gotten in front of him. So but Holden does still need to come in. So it's kind of on now, depending on how much fuel Holden needs to take. I mean, we're at the 20-minute mark. He's not going to need a full tank. And it seemed like JT was in there for quite a while. So just depending on how much they have to fuel save, that's going to be a pretty close one. I'm very interested to see how much he's able to make from that pit stop.
Well, Holden, even though when he does come in with, let's say, 10 minutes to go, even if his pit stop was something like 20 seconds faster compared to what Tammy has done, he's not going to make up all the time. So it's completely JT Tammy's race to lose in that respective category. But Gutierrez has got a margin of 7.7 over Dan Kirby now, who's in second place. And then it's Troy Oyan in third, and Ben Kesby, back up into fourth position, with Cameron Barker in fifth. I can tell you that Dahlgren's pit stop has dropped him back down to 8th place, so we'll see how the latest pit stops play out as the time continues to tick down with 20 minutes to go.
I'm looking at this right now. We've got the leader coming in for Hypercar Pros, Johnny Gutierrez, and he's just getting passed by Daniel Kirby. So now this might be one of those things where we see Kirby is able to extend the fuel life of that Cadillac. He's very good at doing that. So if he's able to take advantage and come back in on the next lap to top off for his car, this might be the race. So Johnny Gutierrez has to make sure he's right on his marks, fuels exactly perfectly, and they come right back at him.
Yeah, it was
Mike
contact
Bison.
on the, Luciano and Mike having a bit of a issue. And unfortunately they make contact there, Ross. 6 of one, half dozen the other.
Is all a bit clumsy. It was really kind of hard to say, but yeah, I think they... I need to look at it again. Usually when you have a hypercar coming up through, it's hard to put too much on the GT3, but I want to see it again, I think, before making judgment.
All right, well, we'll see. We got a different view on that one as we got 18 and a half minutes to go. Kirby over Kesby, 14 seconds. We've seen Gutierrez come into pit lane. I think he's also just got apparently had a yellow flag there. So we'll see if we can find out what went on with Gutierrez beforehand. And before we make a presumption that he could possibly, I thought he might have won this. Thought he might have been able to basically take the win on this one, Ross. I think Gutierrez has driven well in that 9X8.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job. He's it looks like he's down in 7th right now. Obviously, we still have some pit cycles going through. As we're going to look here, wondering if this might be one of the reasons why. Oh yeah, oh that's a big one.
He didn't hit the wall though.
No, he kept it off. It's precarious. So yeah, it's a tricky spot there through those that turn 2, 3, 4 segment. It's really catching a lot of drivers out. It almost feels counter camber as you're pushing to the outside there, and if you're just slightly off from your line, it can really throw the thing around, just as we saw.
Look, he's on the inner curb. Oh wow!
Oh, very unsettled. Yeah.
It's not even remotely got 4 wheels sort of stable there at that moment in time, Ross. I think that's the thing. He looked like he was going to be out of it beforehand. Unfortunately for Gutierrez, we'll see if he can come back and make any inroads. Kirby there, Kirby's in the pit lane, Suvic's in the pit lane. There's more Hypercar AMs in there, Mayer's in there, Angelina's in there. William Schlittling, Luciano and Charles bringing the GT3s back together. We did say they were a pressure cooker, Ross, not really seen much of them fighting it out in the GT3s today, but it looks like Schlittling and Charles is going to have a good old scrap.
They are, yeah, and it's a little bit of a switcheroo. I was expecting the hypercars maybe to kind of separate a lot more from the GT3s, but obviously it's gone the other way around. So Echazo has obviously had some issues throughout the race, as has Schlichting, so I think this is just kind of a culmination of drivers coming together towards the end of the race where similar, I guess, incidents and other things coming about that they've had to deal with. And so now they're right on top of each other and going for that top 5.
Yeah, 16 minutes remaining, and William Schlittling, Luciano Echazo now battling that out in that GT3 class, and that battle's over because Echazo has just gone in pit lane. So it's a very late one for the GT3s, but probably roundabout. No, that seems well out of sync. Ross, pit stop, GT3, 15 minutes to go?
Unless there's something that happened earlier on, yeah, that's way out. So it's possible that there might have been a change-up in the way that the pit stops happened earlier, either from damage or from
wasn't he involved? He was involved in an incident, wasn't he, earlier on?
I believe he was, yeah.
Yeah, I think he might have been involved in an incident, but that does release Schlittling away from the situation, but that's also going to put Alan Holden in, still leading the way in the GT3. Yeah. JT Tammy, oh no, game over. JT's got to take in the lead because Alan's gone in pit lane. So there you go on that one. And Alan has just gone in. This is a replay of Gilles Lalonde's moment. Ooh, he was already on the curb and on the grass, and unfortunately big hit for Gilles Lalonde, but that he did look like he was a little bit out of sync already going over that. Oh, that rejoin.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right, James. That was pretty messy. And unfortunately, he's been doing that a lot on this track. He did that at NARS. He overshot that corner specifically. I think that's not Tower. I can't remember which corner. But yeah, he's been having a lot of issues going in through some of those braking segments. I'm not sure if he's just missing his markers or if he's just having trouble keeping on top of his cars. It's changing as we see. I think that's Daniel Kirby coming in from the lead.
Yeah, Kirby's in the pit now. this is going to be the opportunity. Can Dahlgren or Gutierrez mainly get close? But we're going to have a look at this replay of a Carl. Is that Carl Struhl? Oh, that's a Mike
Sean
Bell.
Kelly.
That's a Smile Power car. That is a Smile Power car there. Ooh. That looked a little bit scrappy with Sean Kelly. If it ain't Mike Bell, it's Dan Herlock, because basically Luke Mitchell's out of the race. So it's got to be one of them on that one. We're going to see if we can find out who that might have been. If we think it was Dan Herlock. In that, Dan Kirby comes out, he goes in the lead, he comes out in the lead, and with 13 minutes to go here, Tom, I think this is a Dan Kirby win.
Yeah, well, unless it makes any errors from here on in, it's Kirby's race to lose, and he's played the strategy very, very well. And he's got around about 8 seconds in hand over Dahlgren, who's done very well to get up into second place. This is going to be a replay shown to us, and I think this is... I think it is Mike Bell. I think this is Mike Bell's pit entry, isn't it?
No, Dan. Oh, literally, just got told it was Dan Herlock there, and Dan just about misses it. I don't really know if he missed the wall, Ross, or he hit it there.
Oh, he got it, but I mean, he was going slow enough. I don't think it really did much to him. Still, that was a brown trouser moment for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll see, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on to your hats. We've got 12 minutes and 28 on the clock, ready to go. Looks like we may have had Wouter de Bruin spinning round here as well, but Dan Kirby, Magnus Dahlgren, Johnny Gutierrez, Troy Yuyan, Ben Kesby leading the race earlier on. Not now. Mike Bell, Cameron Burke, Robert Molin, Dan Herlock, Timon Suvic, all there. Oh, there's Wouter. Unfortunately for him, he's not really recovered from his earlier incident with Max Umferlap. Fortunate enough, they were just on track at the same time then. Lucky enough, they didn't hit each other. Dan Kirby is out of pit lane. We will give the overlay a bit of a refresh to bring it up where they are currently at the moment. And Johnny Gutierrez sitting there in third place. Johnny, with them two incidents, Ross, do we put this on Johnny saying you kind of lost out on your own?
Well,
come on, don't you dare sit on the fence with me, Mr. Smith.
That certainly didn't help, and yeah, going in there. I mean, it's a very difficult situation what he was going into with the GT3s, and it looked like it didn't really mess him up too much, because I think he was the car behind Gilles Lalonde. Wasn't Gilles the one who went off and hit the wall, or am I mixing those two up? But
no, you are right. He went off first and got hit as he spun. Gutierrez then got T-boned. I can't remember who it was by. And then Gilles Lalonde went off onto the grass, spun it up and hit the wall.
Right.
So, there you go. That's basically how it worked. But has the error after as well. This is when you win a race, it generally means that you've had almost a perfect race, because everything's gone right. Everything's come out and worked. Everything, you haven't made one mistake. You haven't gone offline. You haven't gone on the grass. You haven't done anything dramatic. But for Johnny Gutierrez, Ross, he's done quite a lot. And it looks like he threw nearly again. For me, I would say Gutierrez has lost this race rather than Dan Kirby's won it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of true for most of the people that Dan Kirby has been able to pass, because from everything that I've seen, Kirby hasn't really been held up in any way, which has allowed him to recover from that penalty he served very early on in the race. And it just goes to show you, even when you get a penalty, it does not mean it's the end of the world. You can overcome it. You have to have a lot of things go your way. You got to get lucky, and you have to be very focused. But he's clearly shown that you can make a lot of it. But we don't want to speak too early. We still have just a little under 10 minutes left, and there's a lot yet to happen. There's a lot of GT traffic still in front of him to deal with.
Yeah, well, that's Robert Molin and Dan Herlock. I do wonder who is that car behind. It is one of the CMS boys. I can't actually see which one
no,
would be.
It's Papadopoulos.
What, in the red? Not the blue, the red.
Right, yeah, in the Ferrari 499. Yeah, he's given him a flash. He's been going at him for a little bit here, and I think he's trying to say, you guys are holding me up. I'm trying to get after Jerry Chen.
Yeah. Antonius Paparanopoulos there, then sitting in second place. Sorry, my mistake on that one, mate. Giving it away, but there we go. But Jerry Chen leading the Hypercar AMS. JT Tammy back in the GT3 lead. Alexander McQuarrie never lost the lead. He's been in the pits. He's come out. He's still in front. Robert Molin diving in pit lane. That's going to put Herlock through. And Paparanopoulos will sit in behind them now and see if he can. Well, there you go. He's just cleared Dan Herlock. He's now going to go after Jerry Chen, 3.3 seconds up the road, just going into the left-hander. Is Jerry there in front of, I believe that may have been Gilles Lalonde, going in the 9X8 in front of him at the moment. 8.5 minutes to go, Tom, and with 8.5 minutes left, what are we thinking about, you know, for the likes of Jerry Chen, Dan Kirby, JT Tammy and Alexander McQuarrie?
Well, they look like they're in control of where they are. I've just seen Ben Kesby come into the pits yet again, James, and I wonder he's picked up a problem somewhere. Me and Ross were speaking about his latest stints, or one of his latest stints that saw him having the spins, making mistakes, missing the corners. It just hasn't been his day today compared to what it was at the beginning, where it looks very, very good of him when he was tossing it out with Johnny Gutierrez. So I think his errors today are just one of his set of tyres. Just seen that is, who's that going for? Is that Gutierrez? Is that Gutierrez who's gone for a sin? Or is that Lalonde?
I don't know. It's Gilles Lalonde. It is Lalonde that's just gone round. These, I know they're great and have these same team liveries, Ross, but it causes us right dramatics up here in the booth.
You got to pay attention. All I can say.
Well, I suppose the car numbers can help us, James.
And that's the end of Ross Smith up here in the booth on that one. See, Mr. Smith, I can still move you out, you know, sir.
Wow.
Yeah. There you go. See, your admin thing doesn't stop me moving you now, you know. And there you go. Jerry Chen and Paparanopoulos still continuing to fight. 1.9 seconds. We've got a replay of
this is Lalonde's spin, I think.
the Lalonde incident. Here we go. As it goes round, bumps the curb. Oh, misses the back end, and then bonk, taps the wall for Gilles Lalonde. He must have been close there at the same time. And
I'll have to sign that part of the wall.
Yeah.
Kind of claimed it as his own.
Yeah, it's twice he's been there, isn't he? Exactly. It's like, oh, that's put him down in 22nd down in the hypercar class now as well. Unfortunately for Gilles Lalonde on that one. So this is the is this the Paparanopoulos incident? Pass?
It's live images, I think, James. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Jerry Chen and Antonis Paparanopoulos are fighting out on the racetrack now. 0 point back, Johnny Yan and Michael Locke. That was a battle for Hypercar AMS though, so I'd love to go back to that one if I could, please. Thank you. As Jerry Chen and Antonius Paparanopoulos fighting out for the lead in the Hypercar AMS. Me personally on this one, Tom, with the fact that Paparanopoulos has looked quick all evening, I think it's going to be tough, very tough for Jerry Chen to hold on here.
Yeah, I don't know when Paparanopoulos did his last stop, but he looks the more confident driver compared to Jerry Chen. And Jerry Chen is just having to get through all these GTs. It's like every hurdle that you get at the 110 metre hurdles. You can just see Paparanopoulos seeing the door open and he goes through. Jerry Chen got caught up behind the GT and Paparanopoulos said, "Thank you very much, I'm heading through." And that was coming all along.
Yeah, 5 minutes to go. That was it. If you're ever going to make an overtake, Ross, to take away the lead on a race, you might as well do it within the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think that was Alexander McQuarrie too, the leader in the GT3 AMs that he was tucked up behind. But this was always going to happen, as we see. This is on board with Lalonde as he's finding his spot.
As he's finding his spot.
Yeah.
As he's in it. I think we should new name it now as we go into the long corner. There, I think that works out. Unfortunately, sorry, Shields, if you're watching it back, mate, we couldn't phone up. There's Magnus Dahlgren, Johnny Gutierrez in the X8 and the Evo.
We saw a big crash with Mike Bell. Sorry.
Yeah, looks like Mike Bell might have had some dramatics. Yes, he's gone down the order. Barker's there. Herlock's going to be getting him. I mean, there's GT3 contact involved. Magnus Dahlgren, Johnny Gutierrez still fighting out. It's yellows in sector 2. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on to your hats. Let's find out what happened to Mike Bell. And that is one. That's not JT Tam.
Matthew Overton. Yeah.
Oh, the Aston Martins. It's the 174. Oh my goodness me!
He's on the roof. On the
Uh,
roof. Let's get him on board. Paul there does not want to, unfortunately, do what that. I think an onboard shot of that one would have been absolutely epic. So there we go. Magnus Dahlgren there in second with Johnny Gutierrez in third. Mike Bell upside down. And now this is all going to be about what Gutierrez is going to do. Is this my onboard that I've been requesting? Here it kind of is. So there we go. So we're going to watch. Oh, there was the tap from Mike Bell. You see him dragging the car, just dragging the car, and then all of a sudden he's going to go round, and then all of a sudden we're going to do a wicked flip, back forward, on the roof, back over, and we're gonna balance back up in the air. So there we go. The incident. Dahlgren and Gutierrez. Now Gutierrez is second back at the moment. Paparanopoulos leading the way. That is, I believe, that's still Mike Bell on his roof, and it is still on his roof. Still sat there at this moment, but Mike Bell. Yeah, Mike Bell cam looking down in the corner there, Ross. I'm surprised he's still there. Does he not have a return to pit lane?
I'm not sure. Usually, yeah, you would decide to pull off, so I'm not sure why he's staying there, but I think his race is over, unfortunately, with just a couple minutes to go.
Oh, blatantly. We're only going to have one more lap there. The leader is coming into turn 2 and 3, where these guys are into turn number 1. So we're going to find out. I don't like the sound of the "oh no" I've just had in sector 2 in my earo, and it looks like Charzo's gone round. Gilles Lalonde is doing it in sympathy. They're doing a lovely tandem pirouette, but there we go, back to live pictures as we go. Live pictures now, Dan Kirby. He's got one more lap to go here, Tom. He's driven really well at the moment. P2's getting very, very close. Dahlgren and Gutierrez, they've got one more and one after this, but Dan Kirby done a stellar job here, Tom, as Mike Bell's still on his roof.
Yeah, so whilst Mike Bell watching on, albeit from upside down, Dan, yeah, he's probably having a little nap. Yeah, it is the evening after all over there, so he might as well just have a little kip whilst watching the action, which is probably not the most safe way of living life. But what a job Dan Kirby has done, because we didn't really. I don't know where he is from Australia, in all honesty, but
No.
but yeah, but either way, he's done a terrific job all the way through, going through the Ullman Straight, and he'll have one more lap to go at the end of this one. And there's a slow-moving hypercar there. I don't know who's that. That's just slowing, entering the last corner. Could that be someone running out of fuel?
Yeah, I can tell you now that Mike Bell is not from Australia. It's the fact that he was on his roof and he's upside down. So that's where that joke comes from our very bad producer in our hero. So apologies to anybody who didn't actually hear that, but that was the situation. Kirby comes over the line and does the white flag lap on that one. And he's now got one more lap to go. Magnus Dahlgren 11 seconds back. Gutierrez still tucked in right behind him at the moment. People are going to get lapped people are going to get lapped in and around these. I'm just interested to see where's the JT Tammy and Alexander McQuarrie on the racetrack at the moment, because I think they're going to be behind Dan Kirby, but it depends on how far they are. But it does look like Kirby's going to wrap this up here as well. Stunning victory for Mr. Kirby. I know we've still got half a racetrack to go, but at the moment, knowing Dan and knowing he's kind of the Iceman when he comes in conjunction with passing traffic, the second place is on our screen now. We're going to switch back to the cams. So Dan's in the bottom right. Second place is Gutierrez. He's having a right old go at Dahlgren. Coming into Cunningham through Tower, they're going to go now. And at the moment, Gutierrez cannot get there. I wouldn't be surprised. It should be a well-deserved second, but he's thrown away the win. It really was a Gutierrez loss compared to a Kirby win. Mike Bell's still upside down. I don't know why he's still there. Maybe he just likes looking at the upside down world here for an additional, or for an audition of Stranger Things. But Dan Kirby's going to come over the line. He's got one more corner to go. Is he going to come and take this victory? Bar any dramatics, it does look like Dan Kirby, the Iceman himself, comes over the line for CMS Pro in that Cadillac V Series. Kirby racks up to 2 hours. Victory for Kirby. Gutierrez now on the outside. This is going to be a run down with Dahlgren down to the line. It's going to be contact sideways. Gutierrez trying to stay on the outside there. He's going to run him all the way down to the line, but Dahlgren's going to cut him off. Dahlgren's going to get second place with Gutierrez in third. Oh my God.
That was so good, man. They were pushing. They kept it very respectable though, right to the line as much as they could, because it was borderline. But man, it's a great win by Kirby, and great second and third there for those guys.
Yeah, Antonios Paparonopoulos comes over the line as well. I've got to be honest, nothing short than deserved on that one. He's looked quick in that car all day. Jerry Chen grabs second place in the Hypercar. Stunning job from him. And it looks like John Mayer may also come over the line in third. JT Tammy's going to wrap up the GT3 Pro. Do we know where McQuarrie is? Is McQuarrie behind him on track? Or has Alistair McQuarrie gone over the line before him? We'll find out very, very shortly, of course, when I get the information. Coming to me very, very soon, I'm sure. So I wait patiently. But at the moment, JT Tammy is your winner. Alistair McQuarrie is going to come over the line ahead of JT, but wraps up the GT3 AMS. It may be his last win as an AM before he goes up into a pro, but we'll see how that one works out. But Alexander McQuarrie wraps up the GT3 AM victory. Great win from him. JT Tammy comes over and takes the GT3 pros, and there you go, great win from JT as well. Great race in there, Tom, as always, and you know, some great victories for people, well deserved.
Yeah, absolutely so. And a brilliant battle towards the end between Dahlgren and Gutierrez to put on an absolute show. And we've got the results that are about to be shown, James, so I'll let you run down on that.
Yeah, Dan Kirby in first, Magnus Dahlgren in second, and Johnny Gutierrez. Great battle from Gutierrez and Dahlgren there. Dan Kirby, great victory. Then we got Troy Uyan, Cameron Barker, Dan Herlock, Ben Kesby, Timon Suvic, John Uyan, and Michael Locke. Didn't really see much of Michael Locke, actually. Rounding out the top 10 in the Hypercar Pros of Robert Molin, Wouter de Bruin, Gilles Hollande, Luke Mitchell, Tom Lane. Gilles got his own corner at Sebring. Fair play to Gilles after hitting the same one twice or three times. Antonios Paparonopoulos in first with Jerry Chen in second, and then John Mayer round out the third in the Hypercar AMS. Eric Monet, Gwilym Benk, George Angelidis. Great recovery from George considering he had a big long penalty at the beginning of 50 seconds. Matt Bice, Mike Bice, Sean Kelly, and Vinicius Concalves who on there. And then we've got Wayne Hutchinson, DNF, and Carl Struhl DQ'd. Fine, it's going to be interesting to find out what that was for. In the GT3 Pros, JT Tammy takes the victory. David Junt in second with Alan Holden in third. Peter Grau, great opening debut for him in fourth. William Schlittling in fifth. Then Jaime Zelecki, Luciano Chazo, Matt Overton and James Walker ended up swapping places in the end with Max Sumfenlap, who, well, we saw got himself caught up in a little bit of ta-ta-ta. Brian Van Buskum in 11th. Then we lost Elko Bussenik in the Lambo and Ryan Pulbert Reyes in the Porsche earlier on. In the GT3 AMS, Alexander McQuarrie wraps up. Could be his last race as an AM here, with Peter Meyer in second and Adam Gray, and then DNF to Stacey Scott, who lost it from second from Klaus, and Stephen Miller, who magically blew up an engine that has never been seen again in a GT3 here on CMS or JBB. So there you go. I'm going to bring in one Mr. Alexander McQuarrie first. I want to have a chat with your GT3 AM winner. And here he is. He's joined us in the booth. The man qualified fifth in overalls. He's taken the victory in the race. It could be his last ever race as an AM because there is talk of the man being promoted to pros. But let's find out how he feels about that one. Alexander, welcome into the booth, buddy. Well done. Congrats on your victory.
Hey, thanks, guys. That was a tough race.
Tough.
Yeah, I mean, just a bit. I mean, tires and,
I was going to say, dude, you could have picked your grandma up, stuck her in the car, drove around at 50 mile an hour. You probably still might have won.
I had a lot of time on this track, and just dial in the setup. I mean, we just found a lot more time in the setup. I mean, so it's just seat time, honestly. So
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. Now listen, my question to you: if CMS turn around next week and go, Alex, bro, you're not an ham, you're a pro, and they move you up, what are you going to do?
I might contest it because there's still a lot I need to learn about, racecraft and stuff like that. I can put down some fast lap times, but you know what? I mean, through the whole race, that's a different story, So I got to work on that.
Oh, is that your defense to stay in hams?
Hey, it sounded good though, right? It sounded good.
Yeah, it sounded good. I got you in it. We court of law, dude. I got you. Don't you worry about it. You know what I mean? It's bloody awesome. Ross is here, so it'll be Ross you have to convince probably on that one.
George, not me.
George. Okay, we've got to convince George. But look, going forward, right? We've got a bit of a break, only a couple of weeks going in before we go into Imola for the 90 minutes of Imola. Imola's a different circuit altogether to Sebring. You've got that rough, bouncy airport strip layout, and then you go to Imola, smooth, tarmacs, wiggles. You've got it all coming up here. How are you going to go from Sebring to Imola?
I mean, Sebring was tough for me. I mean, I had to do a ton of laps to get used to turn one and the last turn. So, Imola is going to be new for me, as are a lot of these tracks. So I'm just going to put in the seat time, see where we come up.
All right, fair enough, dude. Well, listen, Alex, thanks so much for joining us there, buddy. Anyone you want to give thanks to before we let you go?
My sim racing buddies, Max Lap and Ryan Reyes. We always, after work, get on the server and get some laps down, work on setups. So thanks to them, and of course my girlfriend. So
Yeah, good job. Always shout out the way, dude. You even that it's the difference between sleeping in a bed and on the sofa.
Yeah, exactly.
I got you, bro. I got you. Right, Alex, you take care, man. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. All right, next up, we're going to have a chat with JT Tammy, your GT3 Pro winner. The man pretty much had it easy. He stopped at one point on the pit lane to get KFC. He was that far ahead. But he then comes out and just carries on and motors on and takes the victory there as well. JT, you led from green to checkered, fella. A stunning win for you.
Yeah, that was about almost as perfect as I could do in terms of the car feeling well and the race strategy playing out.
Yeah, big old gap. Did it get lonely?
No. I was my strategy had me having to push a bit because I would have to take more fuel towards the end. So I really had to try to run away as best I could.
Wow, dude, you did an absolutely stunning job. It was a great victory for you. Going in, second victory. How do we see JT Tammy being stopped? Can the Aston be stopped? Do we need to chuck sand in the back of you, JT? What do we need to do? Because at the moment, you're flying.
I think some of the tracks will be a bit more difficult. This track with the bumps made it pretty difficult for a couple of the cars, especially with the tire wear for like the Porsche and the Ferrari. But once we start to get to some European tracks where the road is a lot smoother, I think we'll see them definitely running at the front end quite a bit more than they are right now.
Well, we're heading to Imola next, mate. I don't know how much smoother we can get, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true. And I have interesting memories in Imola, so hopefully I'll get another podium. So looking forward to that.
All right, JT, listen, dude, you've done an absolutely stunning job. Well done for you. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
The usual guys. George running this series. The Storm Gang simulation group, putting on a heck of a mod. Whatever updates they need to do the tracks, get out to us. You guys for showing up and sharing this great event with everybody else watching. So yeah, props to everyone involved, making the drivers get to go out and have fun.
I do. Well, thanks so much for that, JT. Well done, buddy. Look forward to seeing what you can do in Imola.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Right, next up, we are going to have a chat with the Hypercar winner, Mr. Antonios Paparanopoulos, into the booth here. Antonis, dude, you were quick. You lost the lead once during the pit stop cycles. You got it back at the end as well over Jerry Chen. Dude, almost as perfect as it could be for you today.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everybody.
Hello, mate.
It was my first race on modern cars here with you guys, so it was a pleasure. It was a great race. I enjoyed it very much. At the beginning, I didn't know how to run with the fuel and the mixtures, so I stayed back and just to get my rhythm. And then I did a couple of mistakes. One drive-through penalty because I speed in the pit lane. That was very silly on my part.
Naughty boy.
Yeah. And some half spins. Yeah, but it was great fun. At the end, I tried to push because I have saved a lot of fuel. Put some fast laps, and yeah, and done it. Very
You
happy.
did. Do you think, though, do you know what? I'm pretty glad you did all their mistakes, Antonis. And I'll tell you why before you sit back and thinking why. Because if you hadn't done their mistakes, you would have been even further ahead than what we already saw with you and Jerry Chen. So thank you for making them mistakes, to be blatantly honest. Otherwise, the Hypercar AMs, you would have been locking up probably with 30 minutes to go.
Okay, I think everybody had some issues, I think. But anyway, yeah, it was great fun with the guys. Very nice battles and very respectful most of the cases. So yeah, great race.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're going to Imola next time, Antonis. How do you feel about Imola?
Yeah, to be honest, everything except Sebring, I like it because I don't like Sebring at all. So yeah, it's good. Imola is good. I like it.
Okay, well, let's see how you get on there, buddy. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go? Anyone you want to give a shout out to, Antonis?
Sorry. Yes. You mean to thank?
Friends, yeah. Give thanks to friends, family.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Everybody support me all the time. Bring me food, water in the rig. So yeah, but I want also to thank George for helping me and Vasilis, the two guys that helped me came here and participate.
All right, Antonis. Well, thanks so much for joining us, everybody. There is your Hypercar AM winner, Antonis Paparanopoulos, here as well. Let's see how he gets on at Imola. Antonis, take care, buddy.
You too, guys. Thank you.
Right, and the last one in the booth here. And, well, what can we say about this man? He had a penalty. He went and took the penalty. He worked his way back up through the field. He then was involved in front racing and battling at the front of the field. Was he the fastest on the track today? Was this a Dan Kirby win or a Johnny Gutierrez loss? Well, either way, it doesn't matter because he did take the victory. Dan Kirby, welcome into the booth, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really happy for the first time in a while. That was incredible.
It was a good race, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a really, really nice race.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Now, I've got to ask you a question, and I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you think you were the fastest out there, or do you think that 9x8 of Gutierrez kind of had your number a little bit?
Overall, I don't think I was the fastest, but I think towards the end there, I may have been because I was reeling the front guys in once I got into like third.
Mm-hmm.
But for the longest time, I thought it was gonna be Kesvia versus Gutierrez. They looked like they were swapping via pit strategy the whole race, and I'm not even sure how the hell I pulled that off.
Well, I can tell you now, Dan Kesby had an incident, then he had another one, then he had another one, then he heated the rear tyres to the fact that they were nothing more than melted plastic, and then it all just went wrong. So that's how you got Kesby. Gutierrez made a mistake in traffic with Gilles Lalonde, mind you, both teammates, and they both ended up spinning out and going off. And then Gutierrez had a couple of other mistakes. That's why I said, was it a Gutierrez loss rather than your win? But to be fair, Dan, you come over the line first, buddy. You took the victory, but that's how you pulled it off. You know, other drivers threw it away. You did what being the most consistent, mate, and you come over the line first.
Yeah, thanks. That's unfortunate for them, but yeah, my whole mindset was trying to limit the damage, and I think I pulled off a pretty flawless race from my perspective. So I'm really, really happy with how that worked out.
I do love the fact that you sit there, Dan, and you go, that's unfortunate for them. Deep down was smiling. You know what I mean? Let's be real. You've come out, yeah, you know it, Dan. Don't try to hide your emotions, son. We know it. We've all been there. We've all been racing drivers where you go, oh, yeah, I feel so sorry for them for crashing, but thanks for me for taking the victory. But listen, Dan, great job. We're going on to Imola, mate. Kirby and Imola, what are we going to see?
That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't practiced it yet, so I don't know. Hopefully, I'll be at least somewhere near the front again.
Okay, mate. Well, I look forward to seeing you somewhere near the front. Dan, anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, special thanks to our teammate John. He helped give us a good setup and it fixed a few issues that I had with the car, and it really made it come alive for me in the race. So big thanks to him and everyone here at CMS also.
Okay, bud. Well, no trouble at all, Dan. Take care, mate. Have a good one. And we'll see how you get on in Imola.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, there you go. Okay, Ross, what do you think? Sebring cracker or not really?
Oh no, absolutely a wild race, and pretty much what I expected was going to happen. You know, you're going to have a lot of drivers going out there and doing everything they could to maximize their position. A lot of racing where you get some drivers that just kind of lost it on their own, and then it was up to those behind them to avoid it, because there weren't really that many incidents that were a result of side-to-side or front-to-back contact. It was mostly just a driver would kind of lose it, particularly around like turn 1 or sunset where they would go out. So kudos to those who are able to kind of keep their noses clean. Obviously, Dan Kirby, like he said, he ran a pretty flawless race, which is the only reason he was able to make up and overcome that penalty. And as we saw, Gutierrez, Ben Kesby, I feel bad for both of them, just because they showed so much promise early on, and they really should have been there at the end. Unfortunately, it just didn't go their way. Gutierrez was able to kind of rally and get that last. Well, he almost got that pass for second place. I think that was on Dahlgren, but made for a great show. Obviously, big hat tip to JT Tammy doing it down there in the GTs, and for Alexander McQuarrie for also showing that he can really put a race together. And, it's great to see Jerry Chen putting a fight on to Mr. Papadopoulos for, even though he's coming in and he's kind of fresh, he's got a lot of talent. And, of course, the Curie Mistral team 234. So that's going to really help them in the Hypercar AM Championship. So, yeah, really great overall, and can't wait to see them as they go on to the next round.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom, final words from you?
I've enjoyed that race so much, actually, considering, we've had 2 hours and then the last third of it was like under the lights, wasn't it? But no, we've had some brilliant battles. I know we've had a few incidents along the way, but it's part of racing sometimes. And I'm sure going into the next round at Imola, these guys know their way around the circuit very well. It's a very nostalgic one for so many, and they just cannot wait to get going there for when they do race around a very historical racetrack, it has to be said.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, that's going to wrap it up thank you so much for joining us as well. There's so many down here in YouTube chat. I can't shout you all out, but much love to you all. And as per normal, and as always, take care. Have a great week. And you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.